The gain in money really made Bucky a little excited. It was the spoils that came with doing the mission, and things like getting rich overnight were always easy to irritate his nerves. But that wasn't Bucky's biggest takeaway tonight. The biggest gains tonight are Billy Russo and William Rollins. There are not many rewards for just messing with these two guys. This is nothing more than a daily reward. But these two guys turned out to be the Punisher's enemies, which surprised Bucky and directly completed the main line of the Punisher's series of missions. System information. After successfully defeating Billy Russo and William Rollins, the two culprits completed the series mission. The origin of the Punisher mainline mission Revenge gained 2,000 experience points, and obtained a random item box, Blue Rare, *2. Remarks. The series of quests, Origin of the Punisher, still has mainline quests that can be triggered. You need to contact Frank Castor to find out how to trigger it yourself. Although Frank has revenge, he is still just Frank, not the Punisher. This is only part of his origin story, and it should help him become the Punisher later. But thinking of his two children, Bucky is a little hesitant. Maybe it is the most correct choice for Frank to let go of his hatred and focus on his family and take care of his children again? Let him choose by himself. This can only be up to him. Bucky has no idea of interfering. He will only wait for the result. Without the origin of the Punisher still appeared, and there will be opportunities to trigger missions with him in the future, so it doesn't matter if he doesn't appear. Anyway, let it be. Are back to rewards. 2,000 experience points. 2 blue rare grade boxes. As expected of a series of missions for a well-known anti-hero like the Punisher, the rewards are extraordinary. With this 2,000 experience, plus the previous 2 engagements with Billy and his men, and the last time with Billy and William, Bucky directly upgraded. System information. The experience value is sufficient and has been upgraded. Character level 4. Experience value 674 thousandths. Get 1 free attribute point. Gain 1 free feat point. System. Free attribute points plus intelligence, expertise points plus vicious spread. System information. Add points completed. Character. James Buchanan Barnes. Level 5. Flesh 8, Movement 7, Annihilation 7, Brawl 8. Reaction 8, Pistol 7, Assault 7, Sword 7, Technology 4, Engineering 2, Crafting 4. Intelligence 9, Intrusion Protocol 2, Quick Crack 2. Calm 11, Stealth 8, Cold Blood 3, HP, 210 210ths. Stamina. 155 155ths. Added the quick cracking specialty talent, Vicious Spread. Vicious Spread. Your aggressive quick cracking skill will additionally spread to a hostile target within 20 meters. After the upgrade, Life plus 10, Stamina plus 5, and the daily street actions all the time, and this time it is considered a relatively large action, so that Bucky's close combat specialty, Brawl, has been improved a little. It is close combat, including but not limited to fists and cold weapons. As long as the enemy is in close range, Bucky will get more damage bonus. Engineering, Production, Quick Cracking, Intrusion Protocol, Stealth, Cold-Blooded. These specialties that will be used in daily in action have also been improved. It's just that after the creation is raised to 4, the technology attribute is limited to only 4 points. If you make items later, you will not get experience points. But Bucky still chose to continue to increase his intelligence. Hacking and production are both in the late stage, so he needs to be more specialized. First, he will be upgraded first, so that he can see the effect faster. The same is true for specialties. Bucky chose the Quick Crack specialty talent of intelligence attribute, Vicious Spread, so that his skill, Electromagnetic Short Circuit, can hit 2 people at once, which greatly alleviates the problem of excessive cooling time. After the upgrade, Bucky didn't rush to open the box, but returned home first. For such a sacred thing as opening the box, of course, one needs to take a shower and change clothes first, apply the cream bought for Little Sky on the face, and then meditate cross-legged for an hour. System information. Open the random item box, Blue Rare, *2, get the item, Network Monitoring Network Drive Type 3 inches, and get the item, Missile Ejection System. Network Monitoring Network Driver Type 3, Network Access Warehouse, Blue Rare, 6 Basic RAM, 4 Quick Crack plug-in slots. Can quickly crack the target or device scanned by the prosthetic eye. Damage caused by Quick Crack plus 10%. RAM additional recovery of 3 every 60 seconds. Offensive Quick Crack can be spread to an additional target. Missile Ejection System. Arm Prosthetic Transformation, Blue Rare, can launch various types of missiles. Good guy. Bucky stared at the 2 things coming out, and was stunned for an unknown amount of time, then suddenly jumped 3 feet high, punched vigorously continuously, and yelled silently. Awesome. It's really awesome. I might really be a European emperor. The Blue Rare Network Access Warehouse, like the Quick Crack plugin, needs the anti-human Orange Legend level Quick Crack component to manufacture. This is equivalent to the Blue Rare box, which directly opens the Orange Legend. Moreover, this powerful additional attribute allowed Bucky to directly add 2 quick cracking skill slots, and it also had an additional diffusion effect, allowing the electromagnetic short circuit skill to directly hit 3 targets at once. A great sense of happiness filled Bucky's heart, making him wish for a rap. System. Implanted into the network access compartment, implanted the missile ejection system into the right arm. With the thought in Bucky's mind, his brain and right arm were wrapped in red and blue neon blocks, and he felt a strange feeling again. Then he saw that the right forearm extended from the elbow to the wrist, and gradually appeared several metal lines. With another thought, there was a sudden mechanical sound on the right forearm, and it disintegrated, and a missile bracket rose from inside, with a missile the size of a cigar on it. This thing is also very powerful. Its item description is handheld missile launch system, no exaggeration, which is really appropriate. The missile above is more powerful and explosive than RPG. Moreover, missiles of different types, such as electric shock, combustion, and chemical properties, can be loaded to cause corresponding explosion effects. It's just that unlike the one-time installation in the game that can refill the cup infinitely, Bucky needs to make missiles by himself, just like making bullets. It is equivalent to a normal bullet in a magazine and requires 12 common item components. But exchanging 12 bottles of mineral water for an enhanced version of RPG is also very worthwhile. If it weren't for this thing that can only be used by himself, Bucky would have the heart to sell arms. After playing a few times with pop-up and put away, Bucky had a thought, unloaded the missile and put it back into the system backpack. Keeping a missile in your arm all day is not for the entertainment of an ex-wife. Following the flickering of red and blue neon blocks in Bucky's hand, a small device appeared. The thing that Hydra used to whitewash the Winter Soldier, the mind controller. But Bucky didn't disassemble it directly, although even the whiteboard's network access compartment can disassemble the rare blue quick cracking components. Instead, he solemnly stored it in the system backpack, and then added a note to this gadget himself proving that the Winter Soldier had been ruthlessly and repeatedly whitewashed by Hydra. If he doesn't forget his original intention, isn't one of the biggest reasons why he worked so hard to become stronger? Isn't it to repay the pain that Hydra brought him back in full? Early morning. How is the new school? Have you made any friends? Bucky, who was in a good mood, asked Little Sky while having breakfast. The little guy is originally of Asian mixed race, and his appearance is more inclined to the aesthetics of the East, so he is less likely to be accepted by whites and other minority groups. She also had an experience that she didn't want to mention before. Bucky is worried that she will not dare to make friends at school, and then she will be labeled as withdrawn, and will be bullied by a few little girls on campus. Well enough. Little Sky just answered this sentence. Sure enough, I didn't communicate well with the children. But Bucky really doesn't have any experience in this field, and he can only rely on Little Sky for things in school. I can only hope that there will be no bad boys or little girls bullying her. I have a task for you. I want to find a classmate, introduce myself, and chat a little. If I can make friends, I will take you to Coney Island on weekends. How about it? Then let me try. Little Sky was not very happy at first, but when he heard that Bucky wanted to take her to play, he immediately nodded with big eyes. After talking with the little guy for a while, after breakfast, Bucky opened the door and sent away Little Sky, who was going to school with the nanny. The two of them had just walked away, and before he closed the door of the next room opened. Morning, Hill. Hey, how did I mess with you again? Maria's slim figure, glamorous face, and small eyes full of resentment appeared. Please come in, please feel free. Hill huffed and walked directly into the room from Bucky, and Bucky was politely lonely to the air again. Coffee, bacon omelet, yogurt mixed with mixed fruit, eat some, or you won't have the energy to get angry. Bucky served a hearty breakfast, and Hill was not polite, picked up a piece of fried crispy bacon, and chewed it as if to relieve hatred. You guy, you have no credibility, you don't count what you say, if you agree to act together, you will leave me halfway. That's right. Bucky clenched his fist and lightly tapped his palm, and said that he seemed to have forgotten something, and when he was chasing Billy last night, he left Hill in the safe house. I would like to express my sincerest apologies for this. Bucky bowed and saluted exaggeratedly, apologizing without guilt. The behavior of him and Frank at the end last night was really not suitable for Hill to see. Maybe after finding Frank, he subconsciously wanted to leave Hill alone. Hill gave Bucky a hard look, continued to vent his anger on the bacon, and poked 2 poached eggs into pieces with a knife. Tisk. Why are you in such a rush? But she was angry, but she also knew that she couldn't get any sincere apology from Bucky. Later, she also went to the yacht and saw the bloody scene and Billy's fate. But she also knew the grievances between Billy and Frank. Although she still resisted Frank and Bucky's approach, she really couldn't say anything against it. Thinking about it, if someone killed her lover and her pair of children, facing her life and death enemies, she dare not think, would she make what she thought was the right choice, and bring the crime to justice, instead of paying with blood with your own hands. Also, you still owe me an answer. Hill came not only to be angry, she was also waiting for what Bucky had promised her before, to tell her who he was. About who I am. Well, since you want to hear it, let's start in 1942. Why don't you start with 1922? Hill subconsciously thought that if Bucky was going to be serious, he would start talking about something from his grandfather's generation. Well, let's start from 1922, when I was only 5 years old, and I met my first little friend in my life, Steve Rogers. Stop. Hill still thought that Bucky was making up a story, and rolled his eyes angrily. Are you writing a novel? You can tell Agent Coulson that he is a loyal fan of Captain America. Wait, are you serious? However, Hill received Bucky's slightly helpless but very serious eyes in response, and was immediately confused. Don't tell me you're James Buchanan Barnes? You're a descendant of him. Hill has never thought about this aspect, who would associate the long-haired, bearded, always erratic Johnny with the soldiers around Captain America during World War E. But after such a careful look, it really looks exactly like Bucky Barnes, whom I have seen once or twice in the Captain America memorial. It's real. I'm the man behind Captain America, the man diagonally behind Bucky Barnes. How do you prove it? Tell me something that only you know. Hill blurted out such a sentence, and just after he finished speaking, he blushed a little, was careless, and didn't think about it. Sure enough, Bucky burst out laughing. Then I'll make it up and you don't know if it's true or not. Besides, Bucky Barnes is not a celebrity, at most he is a follower of the US team. I don't need to pretend to be him. Anyway, if you don't believe me, you can go and ask Howard Stark for confirmation. Then what have you been through, that you haven't changed until today? That's another story. Back then, Bucky told Hill the truth about how he fooled Howard, replacing Hydra with a mysterious evil organization, but it was the most truth he could tell. Listening to it, Hill turned into Kazeelan's big eyes widened and her mouth slightly opened, vividly interpreting the word stunned. It's even weirder than Bucky being Bucky. Well, since the person in front of him is Bucky Barnes, only such an experience makes sense, right? This kind of abnormality is a normal error, which makes Hill feel a little dizzy. After a while, Bucky even finished reading the morning news and went to type on the computer for a while before Hill woke up. Then there was no one in front of him. Well, even Bucky Barnes, but it was Johnny, the guy who was always annoying. Or maybe, this is the true nature of this guy, and he is not deceiving her in everything? In short, Hill reluctantly accepted such a setting, and then found the feeling that the legendary figure was beside her, which was quite touching. I finally know why Howard Stark, one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D., has such a good relationship with you, and why you have so much freedom to let the Bureau cooperate with you. Yeah, it's all because of Howard. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll be caught by your S.H.I.E.L.D. To draw blood every day like Steve was back then. You will talk nonsense, we are not what you think. You don't know how many tubes of blood Steve was drawn back then. Can you tell me about what happened back then? In fact, it's not just Agent Coulson, I'm also very curious about what happened back then. Obviously I didn't recognize me, but the Hairline brothers guessed it after a few glances. Well, I wanted to ask Ms. Peggy Carter about it. Sister-in-law, I don't know her very well. Back then. The fact that Maria Hill is Peggy Carter's invisible little fangirl is actually very reasonable to think about. They are all strong women, they are all self-motivated, and they all want to make a career. Peggy Carter is one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Maria Hill will be future Commander Hill. Bucky told Hill some things back then. Of course he didn't want to tease Peggy back then, but Peggy only had eyes on Steve's affairs, which had nothing to do with him now. Hill listened with gusto and gradually calmed down. Actually, not many people know my identity, only Howard, Ferry, Coulson, Frank, and you. It is natural to keep it secret. I want to say that you still treat me as a rape when you get along with me every day. Just like me, the name is just a code name, I am still me. I try my best. Hill knew that what Bucky was talking about was the most natural way to get along, but knowing it was one thing, and doing it was another. She is not the future Commander Hill who is used to black technology, superpowers, and gods, and she still needs some time to digest the facts. I'm going out for a while, do you want to come together? Of course. But Hill also quickly suppressed all her emotions, whether it was Bucky or Johnny, they were all her mission goals, and she still had to complete the mission. Bucky is going to the bank. Find an agent to deal with those bearer bonds, convert all of them into US dollars, and then inject them into his company. Yes, Bucky also has a company, but it is naturally a leather bag company. He asked Howard to help him register overseas. In the name of the company, he injected capital, and then invested, did charity, etc., which can reasonably avoid a large part of the tax. And with this large sum of money, you don't have to wait for the copybook to sell well. You can already get your first pot of gold, and it will be more convenient if you really want to make some investments. After finishing all this, I went to the computer store in the shopping mall and ordered 11 top-level computers in one go. What do you buy so many computers for? Why did Bucky have so many bearer bonds and cash before? Hill didn't ask much about money-related matters, but now he was really curious. You'll know then. Bucky wasn't going to hide his abilities from Hill, but no amount of explanation would be as good as a demonstration, so let's keep it a secret for now. Last time, it was just a coincidence that computers are not necessary electronic equipment for households in this era. The last time they were sold out, I had to wait for 3 days for new products to arrive. This time, the supply was sufficient, and I bought the stock directly. Bucky added money for express delivery, and it was delivered to his home on the same day. Then it was to make Hill dumbfounded again and dismantle it. First, he dismantled the brand new computer into parts, and then disassembled it one by one. Yes, Bucky bought so many computers just to disassemble them. With the rare blue network access compartment, Bucky's quick crack plugin slots have been expanded to 4 at once, and 2 new plugins need to be made. And the 486 computer has a small chance of dismantling purple epic level quick cracking components, but the probability is very impressive. Only 30 epic level components were removed from a total of 11 computers, motherboards, CPUs, monitors, etc., and Bucky made it again. Doubt yourself may not be a European emperor. But enough. System, make quick crack plugins, combined infection, and sonic shock. System information. 50 well-consumed fast cracking plugins, 30 rare, 10 epic, well-made green level joint infection 1, sonic shock 1. Collateral infection, non-fatal, poison 8 targets within 3 meters and spread to 20 additional targets within 2 meters, making them feel great physical pain, including but not limited to headache, vomiting, tinnitus, abdominal pain and other symptoms, causing 9 points of damage per second, 2 RAM consumption, lasting 6 seconds, cooldown time 15 seconds. Sonic shock. Causes a violent sound in the target's ear, causing the target to become deaf, dizzy, and lose their balance. 1 RAM consumption, lasts 30 seconds, cooldown time is 10 seconds. Although Bucky has a new network access warehouse, network monitoring network drive type 3, and the ability of electromagnetic short circuit, he can also jump to 3 targets, but 3 are still too few to cope with a large number of people. Joint infection is not the same, 8 within 3 meters, and then 2 more infections, network access warehouse and specialization bonus jump 2 more, affecting 7 targets. Although the damage is smaller, ordinary people can't kill them, but as long as Bucky cooperates with himself, it is very easy to use in situations like Billy and Rollins with many subordinates. It can also be used in conjunction with electromagnetic short circuit and sonic shock to hold up to 11 targets in an instant. As for the last skill, sonic shock was chosen because although this skill is single control, it has good effects, a long time, and a short CD, which is convenient for Bucky to deal with more situations. Bucky's current 4 skills, 1 for detection and positioning, 1 for high damage, 1 for group damage and group control, and 1 for single control, are reasonably matched. And he has also changed from a rookie, mage, to a qualified one. Not only can he make small fireballs, but he can handle many situations with magic alone. Hill, on the other hand, was dumbfounded for the first time in a day, still not used to Bucky's unconventional behavior, and returned home in a daze, continuing to digest the facts. As for whether it will scare her, Bucky is not worried at all. This is the future Commander Hill. I don't know how many big scenes he has met. He can chat and laugh happily with legends, big money, and gods. He can also boo people and complain, my own superpower, it's a trifle. Little Sky came home at night, and the computer boxes and discarded parts had been cleaned up. During dinner, Bucky asked about her school life for a day. The little guy proudly said that she and a classmate named Mary exchanged self-esteem, introduced, and had lunch together. Bucky praised the little guy well, and let go of his worries a little. And at night, Bucky told the little one a bedtime story, put her to sleep, and left the house again. When he came to his silver gray Mustang, Hill just arrived, and he opened the door and got in the car as before. Where are you going tonight? Is it still business as usual? Well, let's go to the old place tonight. The old place? That nightclub? Hill came here wearing a black combat uniform, and seeing Bucky doing the same, he thought Bucky was going to patrol the streets again. Yeah, But this time it's not going on a date, but talking to that boss Kevin. Hey, it didn't count last time. Are you going to attack that gang? Yeah. The efficiency of the police is a bit low. I don't care about others, but knowing that there is such a person who is constantly breathing and polluting the air, I don't want to wait another day. He spent a small $100,000 on a computer to get the quick cracking plugin, but Bucky would not just let it sit in his mind so quietly, he had to see the effect anyway. Stepping on the accelerator, the car sped away. Bucky's hands were itchy and he couldn't wait. Ha! The silver-gray Ford Mustang didn't speak for a few minutes. Maria Hill yawned involuntarily while listening to the music on the radio and the sound of the engine. When Bucky saw her, he noticed that she still had dark circles under her eyes even though she was wearing foundation. This made him feel a little embarrassed. He has a systematic sleep function. When he is tired, he closes and opens his eyes, and he is full of energy in the blink of an eye. However, it ignored that Hill was just an ordinary person. Even after going through the rigorous physical training of S.H.I.E.L.D., she was not an Iron Man after all. It was no problem for her to persevere for several days, but her body responded honestly. Drink some water. Bucky finished yawning while Hill was looking out the window, and took out a bottle of mineral water in the shape of a pyramid from the system backpack. Hill took a sip and instantly widened Kazeelan's big eyes slightly. Her taste buds were immediately conquered by the clear and sweet sparkling water. Drink it in one sip and it cools your heart. It's not the kind of ice-cold head pain, but a very moist coolness flowing down the throat and flowing into the stomach. Come to the spirit. Hill couldn't help taking another sip, slowly feeling the tiny bubbles gently touching his mouth and taste buds, and then he looked at the bottle of drink. Watna Glacier sparkling water. What brand is this? Have you never heard of it? As long as you like to drink. Bucky just smiled. This is a certain daily reward for opening a box, which increases the maximum stamina and recovery speed of stamina. Bucky can be used by others, and it also has the effect of restoring physical and mental strength. It's a pity that it is not mass-produced, and it can't be used for much. Bucky is thinking of using a system-produced super soldier serum for Hill. Unfortunately, it requires 6 bodies and 6 reactions, which is the physical limit of ordinary people. Hill did not meet the demand. That's the only way to express my heart. Hill regained his spirits, and Bucky also drove the car to the nightclub last time. Hello. Oh, Billy, my brother. Why did you call me so soon? What did you say? Boss Kevin, the owner of the nightclub, picked up the mobile phone in his office, with a polite mouth, but no smile on his face, but his expression changed when he heard it, as if he was suspicious, but his eyes couldn't help revealing the color of greed. Boss? After Kevin put away the phone, the sturdy little man with the fat beard next to him came over. That guy Billy suddenly said that he had an extra batch of goods in his hand, and asked me if I want it. If I want it, the price will be calculated according to the original price, but only for tonight. Boss, is there anything wrong with it? What the hell is he? If that little boy dares to play tricks, I'll kill him. The 2 attendants were cautious and reckless. Kevin was still a little undecided. Call the brothers, bring more people, bring guys, let's go. Finally, Kevin couldn't resist the temptation to have stock, because Billy's stock was really in short supply and sold the best. As for whether there is any problem here, it doesn't matter if there is no problem. If there is, it just happens to settle the account of the unreasonable price increase for that mother who provoked Fake's little boy. But he didn't know that the person who called him was actually outside the nightclub. As soon as he took his brothers away, he mixed in with ease, created a little chaos, and then entered her office. Kevin just brought 2 attendants, summoned more than brothers, and went to the agreed place in a mighty manner. Brooklyn Pier, where Billy stopped Bucky last time. Where's Majestic Falk? Kevin saw that there was not even a ghost in this black light, and thought that if that bastard Billy dared to play with him, next time he would find 2 well-armed and good-looking ones to serve him well. Except, just when he told his brothers to get out of the car, to be on their toes, and then to call Billy. The dazzling lights ahead suddenly turned on, and he suddenly had severe pain all over his body, dizziness, nausea, difficulty breathing, staring eyes, severe pain in his stomach. It's not that he never got sick, but he never had a headache, flu, vomiting and diarrhea. Every part of his body was extremely uncomfortable. This kind of sourness that he had never experienced before made Kevin, who was used to being the boss and enjoying the luxury, stare at him and passed out. The 2 closest followers to him, and the 4 people around them, were also in a similar situation, bending over with their heads in their hands, retching and wailing. It's sizzling. However, this was not over yet. There were 3 more people, with an electric arc flashing on their bodies, foaming at the mouth in an instant, and fell to the ground in convulsions. There was another person who suddenly put his hands on his ears and let out a scream, sitting on the ground twisted and twisted, trying to stand up but couldn't stand up. Almost half of the 20 or so people fell down in an instant, but all of this happened in a flash, and the others couldn't react at all. But at this moment, a ray of light suddenly appeared in the darkness behind a group of people, and a flash of light flashed across the darkness in an instant. Boom. There was a violent roar. Green smoke erupted around the 6 or 7 people on the right, surrounding them, and instantly these people became the same as those retching and howling people. What's the situation? Who? Damn fuck has the ability to come out? The 6 or 7 people who were left intact did not react. They were shocked and angry, but more of them were the fear of the unknown. Bang. But at this moment, a black figure suddenly jumped out of the slanting stab, like a black panther pouncing on its prey. It came in an instant, and kicked one person violently, causing the person to fly towards the other like a cannonball, and the two of them he slammed into the car hard, and passed out without making a sound. Then, like a tiger entering a herd of sheep, he swooped left and right, punched and kicked 3 times, and cleaned up the rest. Then he continued to make up for the wailing people one by one, and after a while, the surroundings became completely quiet. It's time to call it a day. It's fun. Bucky came out of the nightclub and rushed here with Hill in a racing car. First, he asked Hill to use the car lights to attract the other party's attention, and then, joint infection, electromagnetic short circuit, and sonic shock, quickly cracked the 3 chains, and then returned an arm missile with poisonous damage came, and finally cleaned up the remaining few people easily. It seems that I have underestimated the effect of joint infection. Although it is not fatal, the damage is very small, and ordinary people with good physique can't hit the residual blood, but it is difficult for ordinary people to resist this kind of intense pain. Even if the effect disappears, it will not recover quickly, and the duration of the effect is actually much longer. Although the use of 3 skills in succession is not as good as continuous shooting of missiles, after all, missiles cost money, and one shot costs 12 ordinary components. Higher grade ones also need corresponding components, which is not what I can afford now. Generally speaking, Bucky is very satisfied with this operation. Up to now, after upgrading and production, the hacker stream can finally see some good results, which is really not easy. Brooklyn, number 18 block. Near the block, an inconspicuous van was parked. Maria Hill was in the driver's seat, but Bucky was nowhere to be seen. But not long after, Hill heard the sound of the rear compartment door opening. She was used to Bucky's disappearance, and sure enough, after getting out of the car, she saw Bucky in black appearing quietly, with a black brother on his shoulder. This is not the first, but the 5th, and there are 4 more lying in the compartment. Any more? This is the last one, let's go. Closing the door of the carriage, the two drove away. Who would have thought that one of the biggest gangs in Brooklyn would be wiped out overnight? The 5 people in the carriage are all Kevin's adjutants, the little bosses in charge of several blocks nearby, counting himself and 2 followers who help him. All the powerful people in the gang have been cleaned up by Bucky up. That's why Hill feels emotional and contradictory, and the behavior that is contrary to her ideals has achieved what her ideals pursue but cannot. However, Bucky also took good care of her face, kept his agreement with her, and didn't kill anyone during this period. She knew that Bucky really wanted to do something, so she didn't need to spend so much effort. She had seen the scene where Bucky and Frank were killed and blood flowed into rivers. And there is also a place where she can be used. Bucky is responsible for cleaning up people, and Hill is responsible for follow-up matters. Through S.H.I.E.L.D., he notifies Bucky of the criminal evidence collected from Kevin's office in the homes of each deputy. The police, let them be punished by law. It can be regarded as a mutual compromise. Bucky takes care of Hill's emotions, and Hill is gradually agreeing with Bucky's approach. After a busy night, the sky has become gray. On the way back, Hill was a little sleepy again, and wanted to have another bottle of the glacier sparkling water that Bucky gave her, but she was too embarrassed to open her mouth. And even if she asked, Bucky was gone, just opened the box, just one bottle. Say, how about I open a nightclub? However, Hill, who was just about to squint for a while, heard Bucky suddenly ask her this. Aren't you writing a novel? Hill felt that Bucky was thinking about it. She had read the novel written by Bucky a few times and felt that it was quite good. Why did she think of opening a nightclub again? If Kevin is arrested and the gang is wiped out, his property will be confiscated and then auctioned off, right? I just have some spare money, so I thought it would be better to take it down and have a stronghold, so I don't have to do anything at home. It can be done, and it can be regarded as a channel for collecting news on the street. Hill listened to cheer up. This guy really has some ideas? Of course Bucky has an idea, although he has been active on the streets recently, because the experience points are collected quickly in the early stage. And only gangs are suitable targets. It's not like after the appearance of superheroes, supervillains and mice will swarm to each other like a nest of 8 generations. But even if the era of superheroes comes, there will be many street heroes, and their villains will also have many ruthless characters. Bucky felt that it was necessary to have a channel for collecting information and to be able to know what was going on the street at any time. But will you open a nightclub? Hill asked this way. She knew that Bucky was a World War I hero, then a spy, a killer, a magical superpower, and maybe a good novel author, but what about the nightclub owner? It's nothing more than doing business. Find a capable manager, and let the manager do things for me, and I will pay for it. Hill rolled his eyes, thinking that this is really justified and difficult to refute. No. You bastard. What are you looking at me for? Drive hard. It's been a while since I've known her. I think that Ms. Hill, who is beautiful, dignified, smart, capable, responsible and just, is a bit too condescending for her current job. Hill listened and turned his head away, looked out of the car window, and was silent for a moment before replying. HMPH, you know it too, but you know how to cause trouble for me, and make trouble for me in different ways. And you don't have to please me so much. Why did you go early? Just tell me what you want to do. You feel like the actual manager of the biggest nightclub in Brooklyn, collecting all kinds of information in Brooklyn and even New York. Gray and black illegal actions are obstructed secretly, or maybe some people need help. Just contact some people who also need help. The two sides can help each other, and you can get benefits from it. Wouldn't this kind of work be interesting? Well, isn't that the job of a broker or a middleman? Yeah, the Queen of Brooklyn, hiding in the darkness, like a spider, spreading her webs all over every corner of New York. Well, it sounds really good, but don't forget, I am an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And my goal is to use my abilities in S.H.I.E.L.D. It is impossible for me to leave S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course. Bucky didn't think that the person he had just met for a few days would be fooled by him, so he quit his job and went to work with him. You are still Agent Hill, but isn't your job also to assist me? It's just that the job content has changed a little. He just thought it was very interesting and wanted Hill to do it. As for whether he was Agent Hill, he didn't really care. So you want me to work for you? Your angle of thinking is very strange, but it is also very reasonable. I am firmly opposed to babyow, and I hate it deeply. So you can also think this way. You are not only doing free work for me, you are also doing free work for S.H.I.E.L.D. Since you want to continue to be an agent, you must share the resources you get here with God. S.H.I.E.L.D., right? So speaking of it, Bucky had this idea, but he didn't want to do it bit by bit, and he didn't want to be the king of nightclubs by himself. So I thought, cooperate with S.H.I.E.L.D. Pay some money by myself, let S.H.I.E.L.D. Send people and resources to set up a shelf, and then I can share it myself. Of course, it is the trustworthy S.H.I.E.L.D., not the S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra, so Hill is the best candidate, both trustworthy and friendly. As for whether this will lead to the disappearance of Commander Hill. Hill didn't have much influence on the direction of the stories that Bucky knew. Commander Hill was already her highlight moment. After that, S.H.I.E.L.D. was disbanded, looking for jobs everywhere, and finally turned into fly ash following the black marinated eggs, and then there will be no drama. But don't rush, just think slowly. So Bucky also pays attention to resignation. Even if Hill still refuses in the end, it doesn't matter, just think of other ways, it's just a whim in itself. Hill really couldn't make up her mind for a while. What Bucky said really moved her a little bit, but after all, it was a choice of work and even the future path, which was completely different from her long-standing vision of life and ideals. Same. How to calm down and think about it. System information. Defeat the gang leader, complete the daily bounty, gang, reward 600 experience points, random item box, green excellent, *1. Open the random item box and get the item, leather ink tattoo, *1. Dermal ink tattoos, green fine. Use special dermis ink for tattooing, and at the same time, nano-level circuits are depicted to achieve the same function and effect as the smart link of the hand prosthesis. Connect it directly to the prosthetic eye and weapon intelligence system to provide real-time tracking calculations, thereby activating the tracking bomb effect of smart weapons. You can define your own tattoo pattern, limited to the back of the hand and forearm. After tattooing, you can no longer add more prosthetic transformations corresponding to the palm at the same time. Bucky sent Hill home. It was already daybreak, the usual system of sleep, recharge your batteries, then take a bath and change clothes, and apply whitening cream to your face. Although it is only a green box, the sense of ceremony is also indispensable. Sure enough, it turned out to be a good thing. There are 3 types of weapons in the cyberpunk system: kinetic energy, technology, and intelligence. Kinetic energy weapons are bullets that can ricochet, and the ballistic co-processor of the hand prosthesis can accurately calculate the ejection trajectory. Technical weapons are electromagnetic orbital acceleration weapons that can be charged, and the bullets fired have very high penetration. Smart weapons can fire tracking bullets. With the assistance of intelligent links, the bullets can draw arcs after firing, automatically adjust the direction, and hit the locked target. With this prosthetic body, Bucky can use the special functions of smart weapons. However, if you have a tattoo, what pattern should you tattoo? An arrow pierces 2 hearts. Bucky and Steve are good friends for life? Hey, no need. After thinking about it, Bucky had a thought, and a dark red tattoo appeared on the back of his hand. A skull ghost head with 2 curved fangs and a burning flame on the top of the head, the logo of the classic samurai band in Cyberpunk 2077. System: making the G58 submachine gun. System information: consumes ordinary item components *30, excellent item components *25, and the production is completed. Kangtao G58 Classic, green and excellent, miniature submachine gun, smart weapon, 9 to 11 points of damage, rate of fire 7.54 times per second, supplementary 4 to 7 electromagnetic damage, 116.8 DPS. While it was still dark, Bucky came to the roof of the building, holding in his hand a slightly modified Glock repeating pistol, that is, a slightly larger pistol with a front grip and a shoulder rest. But with a stronger sense of technology, an intelligent tracking system is installed above the gun body. There is no man who doesn't like to shoot guns. Bucky played with some exquisite weapons with a sense of technology in his hand, and he couldn't put it down. Then a soda can was placed in the distance. After raising the gun to aim, the field of view of the prosthetic eye connected to the hand, Smart Link, is really like the HUD in the game. A sight appears in the middle of the field of vision, and a large border around the sight is the largest area for bullet tracking. Scope: the bullet can be automatically adjusted and calibrated with an arc of a maximum 60 degrees central angle. Bucky raised his gun, which had been equipped with a silencer, then aimed at the place next to the can, and pulled the trigger. Choo choo choo. There was a sound like a piece of paper being torn, a line of fire crossed an arc, the can was torn to shreds, and the beer inside exploded. The visual effect was perfect. Sharp. Seeing this effect, Bucky couldn't help nodding his head in satisfaction, and placed another 5 soda cans. This time, he just used the prosthetic eye to lock on the target, and then didn't aim. He held the trigger and swiped horizontally. With a series of slight gunshots, 5 soda cans exploded almost simultaneously. Whoever holds this gun will directly piss off the sharpshooter. Bucky couldn't help feeling that human beings are really small and aggrieved in the face of technology. A sharpshooter who feeds thousands of bullets every day, the kind of pistol that shoots bullets that can open the caps of mineral water bottles, with this gun, it will be more cost-effective, was directly eliminated by a recruit egg. However, although Bucky is a top sharpshooter, the use of smart weapons has greatly improved, because Bucky's physical fitness is also non-human, and smart weapons can allow him to kill enemies more quickly. The next day, Bucky had a rare day of leisure. So many things happened one after another before, and he also wanted to be quiet. Hill didn't come to look for it either. She needed more rest and time to think about that proposal. "Uncle, I'm back, and I brought my friends." When little Sky came home from school in the afternoon, Bucky was taken aback by the first sentence he said when he entered the door. "Just met a new friend yesterday, and brought him home today? You don't really want to go to the amusement park, you paid for it, right?" But Bucky was relieved to see little Sky coming back with a very beautiful and cute little girl with auburn hair. "Uncle, this is my new friend, Mary. Hi, I'm Mary Jane, you can also call me MJ." The little girl smiled and showed a small canine tooth. She was very cute. She was a little dazed when she saw the handsome uncle at her new friend's house, so she greeted her cheerfully and generously. "Hi, I'm Johnny, nice to meet you, and very glad that you can make friends with Daisy." "Me too. Little Sky is going to go to school. Naturally she can't use Sky as her name. She also wants to bid farewell to the past forever." After discussing with Bucky, he gave her the name that originally belonged to the little guy in advance, but now it's not Daisy Johnson, it was Daisy Barnes. Bucky felt a little confused. Why did Mary Jane come out? Is there going to be a schoolboy version of Spider-Man? But since there is a little Sky, it is not surprising that there is a little MJ, but will there be a little Peter Parker? Remember he was supposed to be from Queens? That is, MJ and Peter Parker are not neighbors now. "You invite your friends to play, Uncle, I have something to go out." But this is not the time to be dazed. Don't be scared away by the friends that the little guy has finally made. "Wait, Uncle, I brought MJ to see Harry Potter, and I promised to give her a copy." "That's it, you wait." Bucky put away all the speculation about Spider-Man, went back to his bedroom, and took a few copies of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone from the publishing house. Although this book was published with the help of Howard's own small publishing house, the printing speed was very fast, and they were sold in several bookstores and comic shops in Brooklyn. It has only been sold for a few days, and it is still a period of brewing word of mouth. This is probably because the little guy shared it with a new friend, so she knew that there was this book. Bucky is not in a hurry. Now that he has a lot of spare cash in his hands, he no longer needs to make his first pot of gold with this book, and he doesn't need to spend his time on running it. He will slowly accumulate word of mouth and just let nature take its course. Are you really the author of this book? It's not that I don't believe in Daisy, it's just that this book is so well written and I like it so much, it's really unbelievable. When MJ saw that Bucky not only gave her the book, but also the unreleased Philosopher's Stone set album that the publisher had just sent to Bucky, MJ's initial curiosity and doubts turned into shock. It's fine if you like it, if you can, please help me share it with your friends. Best shared with a friend named Peter Parker. However, which version of Peter Parker in this world will it be? Night. Brooklyn. The newly opened nightclub called Afterlife. It is a bit inaccurate to say that it is newly opened. To be precise, it should be reopened. This place was seized once a few days ago, which is still big news. The FBI, DIA, and the anti-narcotics team and anti-mafia team of the Brooklyn Police Department launched a comprehensive cleanup of several large gangs in the jurisdiction, including the gang of Boss Kevin in the number 18 block. Although this is somewhat different from the truth. But it is also impossible to tell the truth that an extrajudicial vigilante defeated a gang for them, and all the main leaders and their criminal evidence were sent to the police station. That doesn't call enthusiastic citizens to act bravely, it calls provoking law and order. In short, this joint action is decisive, rapid and powerful, which greatly enhances the credibility of Jung-Fu. And those gang leaders who were arrested were dealt with strictly, severely, and quickly. Boss Kevin, in particular, entered the legal process as soon as he was arrested, tried the case as quickly as possible, directly seized the assets, and directly entered the auction process when he was convicted. Then it was directly auctioned off by Bucky, and a simple decoration was carried out, and the original safety hazards such as fire prevention were dealt with, etc., and the signboard was changed. This is how Leicheng nightclub opened. This is the benefit of cooperating with S.H.I.E.L.D. A behemoth like S.H.I.E.L.D. With Howard, one of the people in power, speaks, and when it operates, the criminals in a block are powerless to resist. Afterwards, the nightclub was opened with the help of S.H.I.E.L.D., or at all, by S.H.I.E.L.D. If it weren't for the owner and legal person's name being Robert Johnny Lind, Bucky would have felt like he had been fooled. The nightclub is open. Why don't you come and sit down? I know, I will pay attention, but I believe in Agent Hill's ability, so don't worry. On the phone, Howard asked Bucky to look at Hill more, so that Bucky felt Howard knew people again. But in fact, Howard just wanted to take this opportunity to see what the newcomer Nick Fury, Alexander Pierce's direct descendant, would do. He was not afraid of Hydra's petty moves, but hoped that the more movements they made, the easier it would be for them to observe in secret. Bucky, who was standing by the side of the road, hung up the phone and walked to the nightclub. There is still a long queue in front of the nightclub. People who come to the nightclub looking for fun don't care if the owner has change here, they only care about whether there is music and drinks here, so that they can release their passion unscrupulously. Bucky walked around the crowded dance floor. No one stopped him this time. The newly hired security guard offered to give way. He pressed the combination lock to open the door and entered the exclusive passage. In the owner's exclusive room, the style has been changed and it has become a simple decoration. This is not like the nightclub owner's room, but more like the office of S.H.I.E.L.D. The room has changed, and the owner has naturally changed as well. How is it? Are you still used to it? Aha. Maria Hill was sitting behind a post-modern style metal desk in cool tones. She had the aura of a glamorous and strong woman. She didn't look up when she listened to Bucky's question. She was still concentrating on looking at the ledger. The specific things, just leave it to the people below to complete. Anyway, they are all your people. Can you still believe it? Bucky took out a bottle of pure water from the small refrigerator on the bar, poured a glass and handed it to Hill. It's not that I can't believe it, but that I suddenly raised my level, but each of my subordinates is more senior than me. If I don't put on a show, how can I convince the public? Only then did Hill put down what he was doing, picked up the water glass, took a sip, and squeezed between his eyes. Thanks a lot. Bucky walked around behind Hill, put his hands on her shoulders, and kneaded gently. Hill didn't refuse, and snorted softly, but followed up with a bit of annoyance. It's not something you found for me. But you look very happy doing it. Bucky is just a steel unicorn arm, not a complete steel straight man. This complaint only stays in my heart. But it can be seen that, compared to the initial resistance to working with Bucky and the entanglement later, Hill is now focused and devoted. She is very good at and gradually likes this kind of work. Although she always wanted to be the king of agents like 007. But in fact, the work of management, scheduling and command is more suitable for her. However, the nightclub is newly opened, and Hill is still working hard to get familiar with it, and even if he is familiar with the business of the nightclub, there are still Baki's plans for collecting intelligence and so on, waiting for her to try to complete it bit by bit. It is conceivable that for a long time to come, Hill will not be much easier than following Baki day and night. And only after Hill is fully familiar with the business, the intelligence channel that Baki wants can see the benefits. So Baki doesn't bother Hill's work. Hill buried himself in the papers again, while Baki returned to the nightclub business area and sat at the bar for a while. Hill was with him during the activities the other night, but suddenly he was alone, and he will always be alone in the future. Baki always felt empty around him. However, Hill still pushed it away by himself, and there was more trust between each other, but the distance was even further away. But Baki also knows that this is inevitable. Hill can't follow him forever, and he won't become his little follower. He doesn't want to bury Hill's talent, so he can help her create a bigger life stage. That's good, it's more free to move around alone, and there's no need for 3 rules. Baki killed Johnny Silverhand in the cup in one gulp. He taught the bartender, golden agave plus bitters plus chili sauce plus beer, rich and bubbly taste, slightly bitter and extremely spicy taste, all in one gulp. The whole person seemed to be on fire. This made him feel that this glass of wine was very suitable for his current state of mind. Baki put down his wineglass, held down a banknote, and was about to turn around and leave to continue his night activities, but at this moment, there was a lot of noise on the dance floor. Even against the violent music background, Bucky's prosthetic ear filtered and caught shouts, curses, and the familiar sounds of fists hitting people. Who is this, dare to make trouble in his place? Although he is a hands-off shopkeeper, he is still a legal person, and Bucky still has a sense of ownership. The main reason is that he only saw it on the screen in his previous life, and now he can think like this for himself, which makes him feel a little refreshed. Bucky leaned over curiously, and saw a group of guests surrounded by the edge of the dance floor, with shouts of, "I'll kill you bastard," and, "Don't fight anymore." He hurriedly parted the crowd with a pair of unicorn arms, entered the circle, and saw a tall and strong young man riding a smaller handsome guy who was already broken by the corners of the eyes and mouth of this little fresh meat. If he wanted to keep pumping his fists, no matter how loud the blonde beauty next to him was, he couldn't stop him. Bucky grabbed the big man's thick arm and held him in place. It's cheating to dare to cause trouble on his territory. The big man was getting angry, his arm was grabbed by someone, and he resisted vigorously, but found that he was motionless as if he was clamped by a machine tool. Not only that, but his body was uncontrollable, an arm was grabbed by a huge force, and his whole body was pulled up. "Let go of me." Ah! Just as the big man wanted to swear, he felt a sharp pain in his arm. Looking at Bucky's half-smile eyes, he knew that he had encountered a hard stubble, and instantly broke away from the rage state. "Bastard! How dare you hit me?" Without the oppression of the big man, the little man jumped up vigorously, about to hit the big man's knee. But he also felt a huge force, and was picked up by Bucky's other hand. "Tony. Are you okay? Hey, let him go." The blonde beauty in her early 20s next to her screamed when she saw this. When Bucky heard Tony, he was taken aback again. He took a closer look at the little man's handsome face, although the corners of his eyes and mouth were broken. Those facial features resembled someone. No way? "Let's go, you are not welcome here." Although he had guesses in his heart, he still dragged the two of them away calmly. "Hey, put him down. Do you know who he is?" The blonde beauty is really not a good person, and she yelled at Bucky savagely when she saw this. "I might really know who he is better than you." Bucky thought so, but he just gave the blonde beauty a cold look. "I don't know who he is, I just know that you are not welcome here." Bakina's stare, which seemed to be looking at someone dead, made the blonde beauty shut up subconsciously. She also realized that this might be the person in charge of this store. She didn't dare to provoke such a person, so she immediately shut up obediently. Only then did Bucky drag the two of them, followed by the blonde beauty, and they were dragged to the back door together. "Let's go. Come here to make trouble again, be careful that I'm not welcome." "Are you being polite?" All three of them thought so, but no one was willing to suffer the immediate loss. The three wanted to leave subconsciously, but Bucky stopped the big man again. "You go first, go separately, don't try to make trouble near my shop." "Wendy, let's go." The big man didn't dare to flirt with Bucky, but gave the little Tony a hard look, and then went to call the blonde Wendy. Wendy, however, has been watching affectionately, and only after hearing the big man's words, she glanced at him in embarrassment. "Danny, don't make it difficult for me, please, you go first, I will call you later." "Wendy. I beg you." "What?" Bucky looked at the big man Danny who was crying, then looked at Wendy, and said to himself that I am AFCK, so fresh and refined, This must be the top Mingqin Biluakan. I'm afraid I can buy it without 3,000 yuan for one tail not coming. It seems that I misunderstood this Danny. Despite being so big, he is a big golden retriever who is harmless to humans and animals. Well, it is not considered harmless to humans and animals, but he only bites when he is forced to do so. Tony, are you okay? My house is nearby, let me take you there to deal with it? Tony seemed to be used to this. He smiled and waved his hands without any sarcasm, and said politely and distantly, Shaoshang, you don't need to go to your house, just come here tonight, call yourself taxi. Wendy was taken aback for a moment, then looked at Tony with tactful resentment. It made Bucky feel like his bulletproof skin prosthesis was going to have goosebumps. The two come and go. One is infatuated, the other is ruthless. Well, I don't know if there are any big eagles in the nest, but in short, they are so thick-skinned that even Bucky looks embarrassed, but he is not embarrassed. After a rivalry scene that made Bucky call it wonderful, Wendy was finally defeated and walked away with tears in her eyes. Tony followed suit and wanted to leave, but he heard the weird man who had been watching the show suddenly say to him, Don't go yet. What do you want to do? Want me to thank you? Come on, I was just careless just now, and I didn't dodge, and I was about to fight back. It's just your meddling. What kind of unreasonable idea? Although I don't discriminate, I don't like this. Tony just spit it out, making Bucky so angry, this poisonous tongue, this obviously handsome face, but a look that makes people can't help but want to slap them both. 99% is the future one another waste of money. You unlucky brat, I'll take you out with just one arm. How dare you tell me this? Why do I really want to fuck you? Then what do you want me to do? Seeing Bucky's stare, this guy immediately took a step back, acting like a bear about to run. I see you look familiar, are you Howard's son? Hey, isn't your method of striking up a conversation too old-fashioned? Tony was taken aback when he heard it, and his expression changed several times in an instant, and then he continued to pretend to be crazy and foolish. Bucky didn't bother to pay attention to him, he gave him a middle finger, and then took out his mobile phone to dial a number. Hey, Howard, it's me. Do you know where your son is? Bucky got through the phone, and as soon as he said something, he jumped up suddenly, reached out and grabbed the collar of the back of Tony's neck, who suddenly turned and ran away, pulled him back, and handed him the phone. You still want to run with your small physique? Even if I ask you to run 100 meters, you can't run me. Answer the phone honestly. Hello? Well, it's me. Do you really know this violent maniac? How did he come from to know you? What do you mean this is not the point? I feel that there is a big problem here. Okay, really long-winded, I'll just go back. When Tony heard the voice in the receiver, his face collapsed, but he still wanted to change the subject, but finally returned the phone to Bucky with a helpless expression. Okay, I see, it's a small matter. Let's go, I'll treat your injury first, and then Jarvis will come to pick you up. Brother, who are you? You look very familiar with my old man. Tony also knew that he couldn't run away, so he just accepted the reality and walked in front of Bucky as a bachelor, but his mouth was still not idle. Johnny, the owner of the Afterlife nightclub. Bucky didn't bring him back to the nightclub. He didn't want to serve this guy, let alone Hill, so he took it to his car and stuffed it into the car, and drove to the nearby hospital. And he didn't tell Tony that he was Bucky Barnes. The current Tony, not the future Iron Man, not even the future millionaire, he's just a bum with a trust fund who doesn't know anything about Bucky and Howard. And the two also kept such a distance tacitly. Howard himself and Bucky walked so close and had frequent contact. Didn't he just want to stand in front of him and be a target to attract attention, so as to keep the danger away from his family? It's a pity, by accident, I didn't go to the mountain, but the mountain took the initiative to come to me. Bucky never took the initiative to contact him, but Tony took the initiative to come to his nightclub. Who can I ask for reason? Bucky's first encounter with the future Iron Man was not so pleasant. Well, the main thing is that the eldest nephew Tony is not in a very beautiful mood. He wanted to taste the freshness for a while, but he misjudged the freshness of the green tea, and even suffered immediate losses on impulse, all of which happened in front of his father's acquaintances. But still the same sentence, you are not embarrassed, it is others who are embarrassed. Bucky was embarrassed by Tony's nonsense that he probably felt ashamed, always wanted to get back some face, and kept talking all the way. Throw it out for him. This is the eldest nephew, don't throw it away, he feels that the prosthetic ear will be said to be malfunctioning by this guy. However, Bucky is not a vegetarian. If you want to talk about people, whether it is the tricky angle or the strange routine, he can rely on the various postures he has seen in the pre-traffic era, and his fancy tongue. Often Tony said a lot, and Bucky gave him no words for a single sentence. Fortunately, they arrived at the hospital soon, and the battle between the two was over. The white-haired old gentleman Jarvis, the steward of the Stark family for 2 generations, was already waiting at the entrance of the hospital. "That's it, let's go. You don't seem to want to have more contact with me? It is more important to rely on experience and routines than relying on brain flexibility." Tony couldn't beat Bucky, it's just that he still has good looks, but in terms of IQ, he inherited Howard and was better than Blue, and he keenly discovered that Bucky didn't seem to have much involvement with him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stopped more than 100 meters away to let him go down. This made him make up a lot of plots in a blink of his mind. "What do you think? Is it possible that I still hate seeing you?" Bucky rolled his eyes angrily and made a striking gesture. "Well, anyway, thanks for giving me a ride and bye." As proud as Tony, he naturally wouldn't be ashamed, opened the door and got off the car, but said before closing the door, "Your store is not bad, I will take care of your business when I have time." Bang. After the guy finished speaking, he slammed the door of the car, and saw Yazzie ran away. Today's eldest nephew is just a childish young man, and he will have to wait more than 10 years before the prodigal son turns back. It's just that the meeting between Bucky and Tony was indeed an unexpected situation, which may have a collateral impact, or not, but it's still the same sentence: let Howard worry about it, since he is his son anyway. Even if this matter came to an end, Bucky didn't take it to heart. And Howard is probably also disciplining Tony. Holding the trust fund in his hand, he is in charge of whether Tony's life can continue to be unrestrained. Howard still has a lot of say. Presumably, the eldest nephew can calm down for a while. Bucky also returned to his own life, coding during the day, and began to try to read some books on electronics, computers and mechanical engineering. This is not a whim after meeting my nephew Tony, but something I have always wanted to do. But it's not because he has a cyberpunk system and can make items beyond the times by himself. In the final analysis, the production of the system is still a superpower. Bucky is just a user, and what is going on is completely incomprehensible. So he doesn't want to complement the system, but to enrich himself and prepare for the future. Bucky worries that his system has an upper limit. Although his actions since time travel have all relied on system capabilities, he can solve any problems he encounters. But this is the situation faced by ordinary people. His own system seems to be very powerful, but in fact the content of black technology is not very high. Not to mention that compared with the alien technology of this world, the intelligent life in the universe outside the Earth has long been able to sail through curvature and travel through wormholes. Even Iron Man, the future representative of Earth science and technology, in a nanotechnology suit, Bucky dare not say that he can match it. That's something even Thanos can beat twice. But what about myself? It's nothing more than a legend in Night City, the famous Psycho versus. Although Bucky's system seems to be more magical, but V can still get stuck with bugs. He has his advantages, such as the super soldier serum made by the previous system. But he didn't have a chance to start with the strengthening that was suitable for him. And he wasn't overwhelmed by the constant leveling up and becoming stronger, thinking that as long as he continued to brush on the streets like this, he would be invincible at that time. He felt that outside of the system, he should also find some other ways to become stronger. As the saying goes, the rich rely on technology, and the poor rely on mutation. Regarding mutation, Bucky's idea is that if you encounter something, such as Spider Gene, Green Goblin Potion, Extremis Virus, etc., you should scan the system and make a system version. According to the routine of the serum, it should also be weakened but remove the negative. The utility version is just right for my own use. As for technology, Bucky also plans to give it a try. I don't have a very good specific idea yet, but it's right to enrich myself anyway. After all, he has this condition. As a hacker, he mainly adds intelligence attributes, and has system attribute bonuses, which greatly improves his memory, learning ability, and understanding ability. With the attitude of getting ready and waiting for the opportunity to come, Bucky began to try to get in touch with the knowledge of science and technology. Of course, the basis of everything is mathematics, physics and chemistry. Bucky bought the book and went home to read it, only to realize that his ideas were castles in the air. It is true to have a strong comprehension, but in terms of basic knowledge, not to mention the university, even the middle school has almost forgotten. Without the foundation, how can we understand? So I started from the basics again. Fortunately, I have strong learning ability and strong memory. In about 10 days, Bucky finished the math, physics and chemistry in middle school. And thanks to the system sleep, Bucky is still a sleepless warrior, and he doesn't forget to go to nightclubs at night, and then go to the street to earn experience. This morning, Bucky was thinking about continuing to indulge in his studies when he suddenly received a call from Howard. "It's something urgent, can you come to my place right away? The sooner the better, I'll wait for you at the old place." "Okay, I'll go right there." Hearing Howard's slightly anxious tone, Bucky didn't ask any further questions, probably because it was hard to tell on the phone, and drove straight to his laboratory in Brooklyn. What the hell happened? See this. Howard still didn't explain, but pointed to the video dialogue on the monitor. This is. Bucky clicked to play in the past. The content of the video is a laboratory with a large precision instrument in the middle. There is a seat in the middle of the instrument, and a 27-year-old high-spirited young man sits on it. This is a video obtained by S.H.I.E.L.D. from a special channel in a secret military laboratory. S.H.I.E.L.D. is really powerful. Bucky continued to watch, but there was no sound on the video, so naturally he couldn't see what it was doing. What kind of experiment is this? Super soldier experiment. What? An accident. But in fact, the military has never given up on creating another Steve, or in other words, creating an army of super soldiers. Since the appearance of Captain America during World War E, the military has never given up trying to reverse engineer the secret of the super soldier serum. Bucky naturally wouldn't feel strange. The military does not try to restore the serum, hates it, will never allow such a powerful fighter to appear again, never wants to create a second, third super soldier, does not want an army of super fighters. That's so weird. Moreover, the military experiments were not without success. After all, talented people come forth in large numbers in this world, and super geniuses are those that Bucky knows, and sometimes even if there is no super genius, but with the support of massive manpower and resources, he can still succeed. Although the military has never been able to crack the formula of the super soldier serum, they keep trying and using brute force to try and make mistakes. The army of super soldiers did not come out, but they did. Among the memory fragments in Bucky's mind, there are several scenes where he was fighting with a black brother, and the black brother cooperated with a team of fighters to ambush him, and in the end he really won, although he was not caught, but it also made his metal unicorn arm scrapped. So Bucky wouldn't be shocked by the secret experiment of the military's super soldiers. But the video Howard showed him, although the previous ones were all the preparations for the experiment, and he was asked to fast forward directly, but suddenly he exclaimed and pressed the pause button. I got a asterisk. This. In the video, the young man with a scholarly temperament sitting in a large high-tech instrument was enveloped by the high-intensity green light emitted by the instrument, and then suddenly struggled in extreme pain, and as his body continued to expand, he turned into a nearly 3-meter-tall green muscular giant. This scene made Bucky jump up in shock. Hulk. You have an army and I have Hulk's invincible monsters. It actually showed up so early. Although Bucky has only seen the Incredible Hulk, he also knows that there was a Hulk that made Marvel lose, and the Invincible Hulk was also a long time after Bruce Banner became the Hulk. His name is Bruce Banner, and he is a top 3 physics genius in the world. He accepted investment from the military and established a gamma-ray research laboratory. In the end, he replaced the super soldier experiment with gamma-ray according to the requirements of the military energy, and it turned out that such an unbelievable situation appeared. In the video, the invincible muscular monster dismantled a large instrument like a Lego toy, and then pierced through the wall like a piece of paper, and also crashed the camera, and the video ended. When did this happen? Just the night before yesterday. Although the military blocked the news immediately, it happened that there were people from us in the laboratory, and they retrieved this video as quickly as possible. Hey, don't you have any bold ideas? Do you want me to compete with this monster? Do you think highly of me, or are you jealous that I have a lovely and obedient daughter, while you only have a son who makes you headache? Bucky was just shocked by the appearance of the green fat before, but suddenly he thought about it. Even if the green fat appeared, it had nothing to do with him. At most it was the product of super soldier serum. Why did Howard call him so anxiously? Come here and tell him this? Although this is a mess made by the military should be allowed to suffer on its own. Howard did not directly answer yes or no, but said patiently. But that Dr. Banner seems to have lost his mind, but he seems to have a certain memory. Although I don't know what happened during this day or so, but when the military tracked him down again, he turned into that green monster again and kept heading towards the small town where he usually lives not far from the base, rushed over. This involves the safety of innocent lives. Now that I know it, even if I want to sue the military, I must do something. Bucky, I don't want you to defeat him, but we have to try no matter what. Let innocent lives be affected. Is it too late for us to go now? Dr. Banner seems to be able to regain some sanity from time to time, especially after defeating some troops and venting his anger, so although we are in New Mexico, we should be able to catch up with the supersonic aircraft. Then let's go. But, those so-called 2 lethal weapons that you didn't want to take out last time, are there any that I can use? Bucky really doesn't have such a high awareness and sense of justice. The innocent civilians in a small town in New Mexico have nothing to do with him. If there is a grievance, the debtor has the owner, and if there is a grievance, he will go to the military. But isn't this how the system reacted after Howard begged himself? System information. Trigger the super task. Don't poke the bear, let alone the Hulk, which requires angering the Hulk and attracting his attention, triggering a battle, and the reward will be settled according to the battle situation. Although the system said it directly, the translation of this task into adult language is only 3 words, don't play dead. But since it is the Hulk, Bucky came to this world, the first real superhero he encountered, or an extraordinary existence. Why can't we just hide? Anyway, I have to go over and have a look. The big deal is to put a few skills far away, and if it doesn't work, just run away. But even though he had the idea of poking the bear and running away, the stimulation was really exciting, and the guilty conscience was also really guilty. So I want to find a sense of security, and this is what Howard is looking for himself. Last time, I could say that there were only a few fighters from the Hydra Elite unit. Do you want to produce some black technology? My inventions are all because I have a hunch that they are too powerful and dangerous, so I banned them directly. Most of them are semi-finished products, and they are all of mass destruction, and I hide them in secret vaults in various places, here in Brooklyn. There is one thing, but it probably won't be of much use. Howard gave a wry smile, not because he was evasive, but because it was indeed the truth, and at this moment, seeing such a monster, he was really a little too conservative in his previous thinking. Those inventions that are too powerful should not be banned, at least they should be banned. Make one. What is it? At least let me see, in case it is useful. To be honest, I really don't know what to do with that guy. Let's go then, hurry up. The two raced to the underground vault of a single-family villa, and Bucky was taken aback when he saw what Howard took out. This is a single-person hang glider, but it is made of metal. There are 2 fuel bottles and 2 turbo injection ports on it. There is also a binding device similar to a parachute, and a remote control device connected to a wire. This is XO-02 Falcon, the second version of the Falcon individual aircraft I designed. It can be operated by a single person, but it has only been tested with a remote control robot, and it has never been tested by a real person. This. Bucky listened to Howard's explanation, looked at the aircraft in front of him, and turned into peas. Isn't it this? The Big Eagle is actually me? Before Bucky crossed over, he had heard of the crosstalk CP of Sabao and Amao. They were a replica of Condor heroes. They had broken arms and big eagles, so they were short of an ant. But he didn't expect him to transmigrate into Bucky himself. Not only did he not give him an ant, he didn't even give him a big eagle, so he had to be self-sufficient. Okay. Anyway, the unicorn arm and the big eagle complement each other. The two can form a CP, but it is not impossible to play alone. But the problem is that this is not EXO-2, the finished work of the military in his Team 07, but O2. It's not that it was acquired by the military for some reason, but it's still in the hands of the original author, Howard Stark, who Bucky didn't expect, and it's just an immature second-generation work. Fortunately, Howard said that at least this one can fly successfully and stably, but no real-life test flight has been conducted. Just in time for Bucky to try it out. Are you sure? In the backyard of the villa, Howard couldn't help asking, a little worried when he saw Bucky carrying the Falcon flying wings with a wingspan of more than 2 meters without hesitation. Are you too confident in yourself, or in him, a genius scientist? Howard really wanted to tell Bucky that sometimes he invents a weird thing with a slap on the head. Of course I'm not sure, but is there any essential difference between this and the trouble of finding that monster in terms of danger? This one is safer. Bucky shrugged helplessly. This is to seek hatred for the invincible Hulka. If he has any other ideas, is there any need to try this thing that Howard himself thinks is unreliable? But for Bucky, this is really not particularly dangerous. Compared to being slapped by the Hulk, even if this thing explodes, it is equivalent to an RPG, right? His defensive power, which can catch bullets in the face, is not particularly weak. And even if something goes wrong in the air, as long as he doesn't fly too high, he won't die if he falls from a height of 30 meters. He's still a bit of a waste of money, and it does have a certain amount of confidence. He asked Howard to temporarily modify the Falcon aircraft, and helped him connect the remote control devices of his left and right hands together to make an interface, and then he connected the data cable of his own network access cabin for a direct connection. It's like coding words in the computer with his thoughts, so that Bucky can directly control the flying wings just like controlling his own prosthetic body. In short, there is no time to hesitate. Let's make a quick decision. You stand a little farther away. Boom. With Bucky's thought, the flying wings ignited, and the turbojet engine ejected a rapid airflow. Bucky instantly felt as if he had just opened the parachute, and a huge pulling force pulled him up. What? And from Howard's point of view, Bucky screamed, and then flew into the sky like an inflatable rocket. Bucky was much more embarrassed than future Iron Man's first test flight, and he was in a daze in an instant. However, The powerful calming attribute allowed him to calm down quickly, react quickly, and adjust instantly. I saw that he just scrambled a few times in the sky, then quickly stabilized and began to soar steadily in the sky. Yo-hoo! Flying is the longing and dream that human beings have integrated into their genes since they first saw birds. Feeling the rapid impact of the airflow, the whistling wind in his ears, and the constantly regressing scene in his vision, Bucky felt an indescribable joy from the bottom of his heart. Being a big eagle is much more enjoyable than being Yang Guo. But he wasn't so obsessed with ecstasy, he was still thinking about the Hulk, and he didn't want to attract too much attention. This is now, if it was changed when he crossed over, he would be a hot search in the morning. So he just tried flying a little bit, tried rising, diving, turning and other movements, and then drew an arc in the sky and flew back. When he was approaching the backyard of the villa, Bucky first dived and then pulled up rapidly, but he only pulled up more than 20 meters before the engine turned off. Boom. With a loud noise, Bucky jumped from a height of more than 20 meters. His reaction attributes surpassed the limit of human beings. He adjusted his body very well and landed on both feet steadily. But Bucky weighs more than 90 kilograms, steel unicorn arm. And although the flying wing is made of aerospace ultralight alloy, it still weighs dozens of kilograms. The impact of the free fall of more than 20 meters, that is, his physical strength exceeds the limit of human beings, and his bulletproof skin can absorb some of the impact, so that both legs were not broken. Just this, it also shocked Bucky so badly that he sat down on the ground, feeling that his legs were not his own, and when he looked at the system properties panel, he lost his health. Are you okay? Howard hurried over. He reminded Bucky before that this aircraft is an experimental product after all. The first one can only fly straight up and down, and the second one can control the direction in the air. However, the jet device can't adjust the jet speed, it's directly the maximum power, or the engine is turned off, and it takes time to ignite. That's how his remote-controlled robot broke. But this time Bucky is the top iron, more stubborn than his headache-provoking son, which makes Howard a little suspicious that he wants to play it badly for himself on purpose, so as to hide from that monster. It's okay, I can hold on. Fortunately, Bucky wasn't some demon hunter who could fall to his death from a height of 2 meters next door. It was just a minor injury. After a healing injection, his health was pulled back, and he returned to normal, which made Howard heave a sigh of relief. Ha! This thing is really powerful enough to ride a horse, but it's also really enjoyable to ride a horse. Bucky looked up to the sky and laughed a few times. Except for this small flaw, the others are really exciting and enjoyable. It's only a super soldier like you who can bear it, but this made me see the possibility of success. I think I need. You need to stop and get back to your senses, we should go. Bucky saw that he was flying so well just now, and he had serious business in mind, and he stopped playing after only a few games, which is great. But Howard wants to enter the research mode, and as soon as the spark of inspiration bursts out, he will immediately forget himself. Yes, let's go. Howard also knew his flaws as a super genius, so he slapped his head and returned to the topic. There is a helipad in his villa, and the helicopter is also ready. He directly took Bucky and the flying wing on the helicopter, flew to his private airport, took his exclusive supersonic plane, and flew directly from the east coast to the southwest. Mexican state. A small town called Vista Verde. Surrounded by the Gobi Desert, there is only one road leading to the city more than 3 kilometers away. It is said that a gas station can be opened here at most, and a motorcycle bar can be added at most. But because there is a military base in the nearby Gobi Desert, troops often come here to consume, and gradually developed into a small town. But on this day, the town was suddenly broken by gunfire. It's not the faint explosions that are occasionally heard when military bases conduct exercises occasionally, but it's extremely clear and deafening. This is the real monster. The town is 3 or 4 kilometers away. In the helicopter hovering in the air at a height of more than 500 meters, Bucky, who had just seen the wreckage of tanks, armored vehicles, and helicopters 10 kilometers away, looked at the green monster rampaging among the armored troops below. The sky cleared, the rain stopped, and he felt fine after crossing. He immediately put away that little bit of pride. Compared with this kind of monster who is unscrupulously mowing the grass under the rain of heavy machine guns, grenade guns, rockets, and shells, is he, the enhanced version of the Winter Soldier, different from ordinary people? But he still had to. The green monster, the invincible Hulk, is about to break through the blockade of the army and rush into the small town that can already be seen from a distance. Howard, are you in touch with the army? No, General Ross doesn't communicate with me at all. He thinks I'm here to see his jokes and trouble him. Keep fighting. I'll try to lure that monster away, and let the army quickly evacuate the people in the town. I will, if you really can't, just hang on for a while. SHIELD has dispatched agents to come. I'll do what I can, and pull it up a little more. Bucky took another look at the crazy green fat man on the ground, waited for the helicopter to rise to a height of more than 200 meters, took the falcon flying wings out of the helicopter, and jumped directly from the air. He quickly put on the flying wings in the air, and when he was only 20 meters above the ground, he finally adjusted his direction and posture, and ignited and took off. The armored troops on the ground were already on the verge of collapse. They sacrificed too much, basically using human lives to let the invincible green monster vent his anger, in exchange for him to calm down after destroying all the troops. Anger. But under the order of the Cake Eater, the kind of officer who can only play tricks, hunt down the person who will become a monster again, anger him again, and use human life again. Roar. Finally, when the monster rushed to an M101 main battle tank, its huge hands grabbed the barrel of the tank, and with a crazy roar, it lifted the tank up and smashed an armored vehicle. The morale of the remaining soldiers collapsed. However, just when the green monster rushed up again, it was about to block the front. Whether it was a vehicle or a person, it was smashed to pieces. Choo choo choo. Suddenly there was the sound of a miniature submachine gun firing, followed by a burst of smoke from the back of the green monster's head, and a lot of bullets shot into his hair, making him suddenly lower his head, staggered in his sprinting steps, and almost fell down. Call. Only then did the soldiers notice that a big bird, no, a strange flying wing flew over their heads with a person. Is this some military secret weapon? Trapeze, whoa. The green monster shook his head, and a bunch of flat metal lumps came out of his hair. Roar. Then he roared up to the sky, glaring at the little flying insect that drew an arc in the air and came to trouble him again. I saw him squatting hard, his muscles tensed and bulging, and the concrete road under his feet was cracked and sunken. Almost with a bang, the green giant jumped suddenly, making him charge towards the flying insects that swooped over like a cannonball. Call. However, Hulk's fast speed is only brought about by his strength, and it is too obvious to shake forward with power. Bucky, who is controlling the flying wing, reacts very quickly. Although the flying wing is also fast and cannot be controlled very sensitively, Bucky is a shuttle of bullets to Lu Fat. With smart weapons firing tracking bullets, he doesn't have to bother aiming at all, he just needs to aim the green fat in the frame and pull the trigger. A shuttle of bullets shot directly in Lu Fat's face. Although it can't hinder his sprint, not to mention bullets, even throwing a rockery, but it can make him yell and cover his face with his hands. Bucky was also at the last moment, narrowly avoiding the impact of Lu Fat. Really, Jill is exciting. Not only did he have to hide, but he also continued to provoke Lu Fatty to draw hatred, repeatedly probing on the verge of death, while Bucky scolded himself for being too aggressive, but felt extremely exciting. Boom. Bucky flew away again, looked back, but saw that the green fat was blocked in the air, failed to land, smashed a big hole in the ground, and then rolled out like a bowling ball. Roar. Hulk was made disfigured, and naturally he was so angry that he screamed again and again, and rushed towards Bucky angrily. Choo choo choo. Bucky didn't need to rush back anymore, he had already drawn enough hatred, turned around and locked on the green fat to shoot, flew a kite and pulled away. Hulk jumped up and down chasing after the high-speed flying insects, and he insisted on shooting him to death. One big and one small, one on the ground and one in the air, the two quickly disappeared, and Howard in the air also drove the helicopter to follow. Only the remaining soldiers who survived the catastrophe were left, looking at each other in disarray in the smoke, as if they had just woken up from a nightmare. It was a little unbelievable that they all came back to life. It is possible to pull hatred, but what should we do next? Don't look at Bucky's feeling of excitement when he went to poke the bear, but now when he wants to run away, he finds that he can't get rid of Hulk at all. The flying wing is not slow to fly, it must have a speed of nearly, but Hulk leaps vigorously, rushing out like a cannonball, but it is not slower than the flying wing. And Hulk's power is endless, as long as he is still angry, he can be angry all day in extreme anger. However, the fuel of the flying wing is limited, and it is very limited. According to Howard, because of weight considerations, after all, it needs to be carried by one person, and the fuel is very limited, which can only support about 10 minutes of flight. And counting the previous test flight, Bucky has been flying for 7 or 8 minutes. Bucky felt a little stuck. He could use a smart submachine gun to target the fat green feet, but with the defense power that the fat green shells can't break through, if it wasn't for the sudden attack, he was prepared. Even if Bucky's weapon did more damage, he couldn't slow it down now. The speed of the green fat is gone. But it's not that there are no other ways to stop Lu Fatty. System. This time it's all up to you. Bucky locks on the fat green, and an electromagnetic short circuit occurs. He is not a weapon person, hacking skills are his most powerful weapon. Sure enough, it won't work. seeing an electric arc flash across Lu Fat's body, but it's better to give him the effect of a shuttle bullet. He didn't notice it at all. Bucky called me a grass on the side of the road. Thinking about it, this is a monster full of gamma energy. It is not an exaggeration to say that a whole nuclear power plant can be shrunk into his body. It's not as good as tickling Lu Fatty with bullets. But Bucky is not the only skill. Come again. Vomit. Bucky, who was chasing the sky, and the fat green Hulk, who wanted to slap this little flying insect to death, jumped into the air with a big jump, but suddenly covered his stomach, hugged him into a ball, and smashed hard on the ground. Then from birth, the fat green who could only roar angrily, suddenly clutched his stomach and retched. It's really useful. The system is cheating. Bucky fired, electromagnetic short circuit, to no avail, followed by corresponding contagion. But this time Hulk was not indifferent, but had the same effect as ordinary people. He was sick all over his body, and it was difficult to resist. Think about it too, Lu Fat is also a human being. Yes, he is human, just a Hulk transformed by super soldier serum and gamma energy, but in the final analysis, he still maintains human signs, and his most basic template is human. It seems that after Hulk's consciousness merged with Dr. Bruce Banner's consciousness, he, who maintains the Hulk shape and Dr. Banner's thinking, also needs to breathe and eat. It's not just Dr. Banner subconsciously maintaining his lifestyle, but he actually has a functioning respiratory and digestive system. He also hurts when he is flattened by Thanos, and he also has a normal nervous system. Although Hulk has high energy resistance, he is not directly immune to Bucky's attack. He eats Bucky's attack first, and then he doesn't feel it. So Bucky's associated contagion successfully invaded Hulk's body, and then successfully made his nervous system receive a painful signal, causing his body to react with pain. Although the Hulk is still unharmed, Bucky successfully impedes his movement and is able to escape him. Yes, even though Hulk was so uncomfortable that he was almost rolling on the ground, but in fact he still didn't suffer any substantial damage, and when the contagious effect passed, he was still fine. And Bucky has no way to directly knock Hulk into a coma. If the target is not hit until at least unconscious, it is not considered a defeat by the system. Instead of defeating, angering Hulk, and fighting him, Bucky has already achieved his goal. Just accept it when you see it. Don't look at Bucky tossing Hulk enough. It's not enough to spread the infection. He also connected a sound wave shock, making Hulk cover his ears and yell, and he just lay down. But Bucky didn't feel complacent at all. Instead he was filled with a sense of powerlessness. It's like a child poked a big muscular bully's ass, and then ran away while he wasn't paying attention. What's so proud of it? Wasn't it just a matter of being kicked away by a big muscle bully? The gap between the two sides is so large that it cannot be measured. Gradually going away, Bucky, who only heard roars but didn't see Hulk chasing after him, couldn't help sighing. But in the end, he provoked Hulk without any risk, which is not something everyone can do. Bucky comforted himself, found a flat ground, landed on the ground again, grinned and gave another injection, which didn't hurt Hulk, but hurt the flying wings, and it didn't hurt either. Who? Hey, Howard, how's it going over there in town? As soon as Hulk left, Howard's helicopter soon chased him, put down the ladder directly. Bucky climbed up, and asked. You are very angry with that green monster. He seems to be even more angry, and continued to rush towards the town. Howard's tone was slightly anxious. He didn't blame Bucky, but because he could only watch the whole process. The genius's mind was useless when encountering such an incommunicable monster, which made him feel an uncontrollable sense of powerlessness in his heart. And the situation is indeed urgent. And I just got in touch with the military to help them evacuate the town. Bucky, we need more time. Not only did Hulk not vent his anger this time, but he was deflated. Bucky bought time, but what he got in exchange was an even more furious Hulk. Then let's go and have a look. Bucky sighed, and felt dizzy for a while. He knew that this matter was not over, but he didn't know how to end it. He could only take one step at a time and look at the situation first. Taking advantage of the time of rushing, Bucky heaved a sigh of relief and communicated with the system in his mind. System information. The special task, don't poke the bear, let alone Hulk, has reached the settlement standard. System, settlement task. Bucky felt that for the 2 kites he just flew, the task rating was not high. But he still chose to settle the task. Even if the evaluation is not high, this is a special task. After completing it, there will be advanced rewards. Now he is about to face Hulk, who is even more furious and has a lot of hatred for him, so he needs advanced rewards. System information. Don't poke the bear, don't mess with the Hulk, has been completed. The task is assessed, the degree of completion is low, and 2,000 experience points are obtained, and the random item box, blue rare, *2. Bucky looked a little bit disappointed. but it was reasonable. The 2 rare blue boxes were actually pretty good, and they gave enough experience points, which was enough to upgrade them all at once. System information. The experience value has reached the upgrade standard and has been upgraded. Character level 5. Experience value 655 thousandths. Available attribute points +1. Available feat points +1. System. Attributes plus intelligence. Expertise plus 2 points of vicious spread, 3 points of damage increase cracking, 2 points of subtle influence, and 2 points of signal support. System information. Attributes and expertise points have been added. Character. James Buchanan Barnes. Level 5. Flesh 8, Movement 7, Annihilation 7, Brawl 8. Reaction 8, Pistol 7, Assault 7, Sword 7, Technology 4, Engineering 2, Crafting 4. Intelligence 10, Intrusion Protocol 3, Quick Crack 3. Calm 11, Stealth 9, Cold Blood 3, HP, 220/220ths. Stamina. 160/160ths. Added the Quick Cracking Specialty Talent, Vicious Spread LV.3, etc. Vicious Spread LV.3. Your aggressive Quick Crack skill will now additionally spread 20 enemy targets within 3 meters. Injury Crack LV.3. Your Quick Crack damage is increased by 30%. Subtlety LV.2. Quick Crack can now perform an ambush, and the damage to enemies that have not found you is increased by 100%. Signal Support LV.2. Duration of Quick Crack plus 50%. Bucky had saved a lot of free feat points before, and he originally reserved them for adding feats in production, and he was not in a hurry to add them, because it was enough for ordinary people, but now he can't take care of so many. Facing the Hulk, it's a little bit better. After upgrading and adding points, Bucky ignored the sense of ceremony and opened the box directly. System information. Open the random item box, blue rare, *2. Get the item, Lynx Claw, and get the item, 05. Lynx Claw. Foot prosthesis, special joints and soles, provide sufficient cushioning, can make movement silent, stealth effect plus 15%. 05. Blue rare, immortal, level 5, kinetic sniper rifle, damage 395 to 485, 0.26 attacks per second, DPS 114.4, can use special high explosive ammunition, load 12 kilograms. A modified version of the STP-32 Ice Storm sniper rifle of Gauke military industry, which can even shoot down floating vehicles. Good guy. Bucky stared at the rewarded super sniper rifle that was one size bigger than his Ice Storm. What kind of fairy weapon is this? There are 2 types of sniper rifles. One is the pursuit of precision, killing devils 800 miles away, and not hitting the right eye if they say they hit the left eye. One is that it does not need to be particularly accurate, because the bullets fired will explode, and the power is equivalent to that of a howitzer. Even if it only touches the edge, it can smash people into pieces. This kind of sniper rifle can also be called a sniper grenade. In fact, it is a particularly accurate grenade gun. Before Bucky crossed, he had watched the program broadcast on the military channel, introducing the domestic LG-5 sniper grenade gun, which fired a 40mm caliber grenade at a distance of 200 meters, and destroyed a car with one shot. At that time, Bucky called him a good guy. Now he looked at the 1-meter-long super sniper rifle in his hand, and he also said a good guy. Unexpectedly, an immortal weapon came out of the box. The immortal weapons in the game are not immortals that never wear out, but upgraded versions of ordinary weapons, which are equivalent to legends in Legends. They have special effects that ordinary weapons do not have, and each immortal weapon in the game is unique. A special method is required to obtain it. The 05 issued by Bucky was the reward for the black boxing mission, but when he got it, there was already a better watch, and it was usually for collection. But he still remembered that 05 was supposed to be of purple epic level, but his one was blue and rare. However, his system itself is somewhat different from the game. In short, it is easy to use. Compared with his previous Ice Storm, which had 0.83 attacks per second and 60 to 80 points of damage, this advanced 05 only had 0.26 attacks per second, that is, it took nearly 4 seconds to fire the first shot. Only then can the second shot be fired. The slowness is simply outrageous. But this rate of fire was exchanged for 395 to 485 points of damage that made Bucky dumbfounded. And it will explode. These are not bullets at all, but shells. The mini-missile on Bucky's right arm has a larger explosion range, but the damage is slightly worse than this. This made him not even pay much attention to the rare prosthetic body, Lynx Claw, with this gun. Why use stealth? Can a living person find himself here? He just wanted to ask, who else? Well, there's Hulk. Even if the damage of this gun is comparable to that of a cannonball, the cannonball won't break the Hulk's defense. Only if the gun reaches the full level and orange legendary quality, plus the bonuses of Bucky's attributes, specialties, and talents, can he dare to say, maybe it can hurt Hulk. So Bucky was only happy for a while because of his love for weapons, and soon recovered his calm. System. Implanted foot prosthesis, lynx claw. System information. The prosthetic body is being implanted. The implantation is complete. Bucky felt that the two big feet were strange for a while. After the implantation, the soles of the feet became more flexible, and there was an extra layer of thin but soft pads, just like the pads of cats and dogs. He stomped his foot hard, but only felt a slight shock. Although there is no noise-canceling effect in this helicopter, the cushioning effect is really good, which is an unexpected gain. Afterwards, when the flying wing lands, he doesn't have to give him any more shocks. And this silent action, plus the stealth effect, Bucky thought about the Hulk who was about to rush back to the town. Maybe this pair of lynx claws is more useful. The small town of Vista Verde. The army at the secret base dispatched another M101 main battle tank, 3 armored vehicles, and 2 helicopters to set up the final line of defense outside the town. But at this time Hulk came back with doubled rage. It is conceivable that this deployment, to the invincible Hulk, is still an ant with teeth and claws. However, just as Hulk was rampaging, smashing armored vehicles, overturning tanks, and just rushed into the town. Choo choo choo. Hulk's sprinting steps were disrupted by a pile of bullets that made smoke from the back of his head. Again. Roar. When Hulk looked at the sky, it was that annoying little flying insect again, and he exploded with anger. This means that he only has rage and no mentality, otherwise he would have collapsed early. With a roar, he picked up a car and threw it at Bucky in the sky. Bucky, who had just rushed over and was about to get on, turned sideways to avoid the car, but suddenly. Bucky felt suddenly weightless, and then spun out of control. Be careful. The flying wing is malfunctioning. Howard's exclamation sounded in the artificial ear connected to the frequency band of the walkie-talkie, and he also secretly cursed that this guy's invention is unreliable. But now was not the time to complain. Fortunately, it was a malfunction during the low-altitude pass, which prevented Bucky from falling, but the time was shorter, so he could only curl up as much as possible. Boom. All of a sudden, Bucky felt a sharp pain all over his body, and his eyes went black. It's not that he fainted, but Bucky directly blasted through a wall and crashed into a residential house. Thanks to the beautiful country house for so many wooden structures. Boom. However, because Bucky crashed into a wall and was lucky into a closet, and got enough buffer, Bucky didn't have time to thank him, but there was another loud bang. This time it was an explosion, and the faulty flying wing was hit again, and it exploded. My big eagle suddenly had a mind of its own, it smoked, convulsed, and finally exploded. Puff. The back was hit hard, and even with Bucky's physique and defensive power, a mouthful of blood spurted out. This time, his eyes really went dark, and he almost passed out. He hurriedly ordered 2 healing needles, 1 fast healing directly plus 15% health, 1 continuous healing plus 5% and recovering 0.2% health every second. Taking advantage of the relief of the pain, Bucky punched the wall with his left arm, broke through the wall, and then fell directly to the ground, rolling all over the ground, and finally extinguished the flames on his body. Go Ree's fat green man. Bucky also hit his forehead with a wave of evil fire, while secretly scolding Howard for being unreliable, while venting his anger on Hulk. In an instant, the red and blue neon blocks flickered in his hand, and he summoned the big gun, 05, aiming at the red frame of the Hulk that had been locked by targeting just now in his sight. Boom. The Hulk car wasted the little flying bug, let out a little bit of anger, and just as he made a big jump to leave, he felt a huge force coming from him in midair and flew out obliquely. The strong explosion and the huge impact made his huge body, like an iron ball tearing down a building, directly smashed down by a residential building. Bucky, is that you? Are you okay? It's okay, I can't die. Have the residents of the town been evacuated? Not yet, there are still some last patients in the small town hospital. Howard suddenly thought of something, and said to Bucky quickly. By the way, the place Dr. Banner rushed to is the town hospital. His target may have been there all along. He may have been influenced by his subconscious mind, and there may be someone he wants to meet in the hospital. Who? I'll go. Bucky was also taken aback, and suddenly thought that the fat green man's girlfriend, Betty Ross, the daughter of General Ross, was also a scientist, and participated in the Hulk's experiments throughout, and was accidentally injured by him when the Hulk was born. This fat green man is actually looking for a girlfriend? I'll go. Isn't it this? Is it a dog food competition by the green fat? Bucky didn't expect that Lu Fat's counterattack was so silent, fast and sharp, with zero harm, but tons of humiliation. That can't be cheap for you. It's clear and clear, Bucky knows. This is Dr. Bruce Banner's girlfriend Betty Ross who loves him deeply, and he feels deep guilt for hurting her by mistake, and this strong feeling even subconsciously affects Hulk, making him subconsciously, it was like going to the hospital. But Bucky made a disgraced face and didn't say anything. He was stuffed with dog food and had nowhere to spread his evil fire. No matter what, he had to fuck this green fat man first. And Howard also said that there are still many patients in the hospital who have not been evacuated. And the system also gave tasks. System information. Trigger the emergency mission, collateral damage, to prevent Hulk from causing casualties to innocent people in the hospital. If more than half of the innocent people in the hospital are killed or injured before evacuating, the mission will be declared a failure. What else is there to say? Damn him. Bucky summoned the newly developed superkiller weapon, the high-explosive sniper rifle, 05, locked on the Hulk and shot him in the middle of the jump, and then turned around and ran away. The only downside to this gun is that it takes nearly 4 seconds to fire a bullet. Although Hulk is a furious beast, irrational, but has amazing intuition, after flying out and stopping, he rushed directly towards Bucky. However, Hulk was on a rampage all the way. No matter it was a house or a vehicle, he couldn't stop him from walking in a straight line, screaming and sprinting to Bucky's original position, but he didn't even catch a shadow. This is not the Gobi Desert with unobstructed views all around. Although the house can't hinder Hulk's footsteps, it can hinder his sight. And Bucky, who is very good at stealth, as long as the enemy can't see him, he can have the bonus of stealth equipment, attributes and specialties, so he ran away quickly and quietly. Hulk roared for a while, swung his fists and smashed it, and then ran towards the hospital. But at this moment, there was another loud bang. However, Hulk had been prepared for a long time. He tensed his body the moment he heard the sound. His head was shot and exploded, but he just raised his head, but failed to fall. He just plowed 2 deep ravines on the solid road with his feet, backed up 5 or 6 meters and stopped. Then there was a violent roar, and he rushed back directly. Boom. However, at this moment, a missile flew over in the fist-sized hole that the bullet in front of Hulk pierced through the walls of several houses. The stronger explosion caught the Hulk, who was caught off guard, rolling and flying out again. However, it only rolled backward twice, and then continued to charge. This furious monster only has a strong character. No one can hurt him, and no one can really hinder him. Use whatever weapon you have, he will lose if he breaks the defense. However, when Hulk rushed back again, he saw the hateful face of the little flying bug through the hole, and was about to rush over and punch him to pieces. Vomit. Again. Hulk suddenly felt dizzy, nauseated, and felt unspeakably uncomfortable. Sniper rifles, missiles, and Bucky's weapons, no matter how perverted they are not as effective as a quick solution to joint infection. At this time, he was extremely glad that he did not choose the hacker style because his body had been transformed and his foundation was better, so he chose the hacker style instead. Anyway, monsters like Hulk can't be killed, but hackers can at least disgust him. Taking advantage of Hulk's discomfort, Bucky quickly hit again. The effect of hacking skills also varies from person to person. For ordinary people, the effect is full, but for a powerful existence like Hulk, although it will take effect, the time will be shortened a lot. The original 6-second continuous effect was extended to 9 seconds with the addition of specialties, and Hulk just recovered from nausea in less than 5 seconds. But it was enough for Bucky to run a considerable distance and lurk down again. But this time, Hulk was not only furious, but also a little anxious. He has not been irritable for a long time, and he is not as angry as before. He just roared a few times, and continued to run towards the hospital in an irritable manner. Boom. But this time Bucky shot the fat green man. After he resisted, he just roared, but instead of rushing over, he continued to run towards the hospital. Howard, that monster seems to have a very strong intention to go to the hospital. I can't hold him back. Bucky saw that he couldn't hold back the hatred anymore, so he quickly notified Howard. I can't help but sigh in my heart. The power of love is so great, it can surpass Hulk's anger. It's so green, and so infatuated, it's amazing. There are the last few patients in the hospital. One of them is Betty Ross. She is recuperating here, and she knows Hulk. She calls the monster that Dr. Banner turned into Hulk. She insists on seeing him, no matter what. Don't go. Then you will listen to her. Bucky ran all the way, and heard that he was the girlfriend of a superhero who was a big death type, so he couldn't help but feel a little angry. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. injected her with tranquilizers and were about to take her away. No, Hulk rushed over. I know. Fuck. Bucky chased all the way. Can you not see Hulk rushing into the hospital? And it was probably Dr. Banner's memory, knowing that Betty Ross lived in that ward, and rushed over directly, but at this time the SHIELD agents hadn't been able to take her away. Looking at the big hole in the window on the third floor of the inpatient building, Bucky was annoyed for a while. He tried his best, but when manpower was limited, facing the Hulk, even his enhanced version of the Winter Soldier could only do so much. Forget it. At least the mission is complete, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not considered a patient, just one Betty Ross. She can't make up more than half of them, right? Feeling a little lost and powerless, he relieved himself in this way, but at this moment, he heard a roar suddenly coming from the big hole that Hulk broke through. Bucky was stunned for a moment. The roar was not the crazy anger before, but rather annoyed and sad. Boom. However, before Bucky could carefully recall and distinguish it, suddenly there was a loud noise. The green monster crashed through the wall, knocked out a brother from the big hole, and fell from the sky. Can't we go back the same way? Bucky groaned silently, and then became more vigilant, because Hulk was aiming at him. No, the angle is a bit off. Boom. Bucky, who was about to give Hulk a collateral infection, found that Hulk ignored him, smashed into the house next to him, and ran away. Just run. Ran. Now. Bucky, who was disgraced by the dust and debris brought up by Hulk's smashed house, turned his head to look at the green fat man who had run away, and was instantly messed up in smoke and dust. What does this mean? Why are you running away, invincible Hulk? Who can catch you? What are you doing, Walter? This is when I saw Betty Ross. There happened to be a mirror next to him. How green was he? It feels like a monster like him has no face to see his girlfriend, and ran away in grief and indignation? This is really. Bucky, who didn't know what happened, chased after Hulk curiously. Is this love? Bucky chased the Hulk who was running away in inexplicable grief and anger. Not long after chasing, he heard the screaming roar and the sound of smashing things madly in a small restaurant. Then he used the prosthetic eye to target, and found that the Hulk inside seemed to be drunk, twisting and punching. So what does this mean? But Bucky, who was at a loss, quickly understood the situation. He saw Hulk transforming in constant struggle. After a while, a forearm retracted into a human arm, but immediately changed back to Hulk's arm, then shoulders, legs, and chest. Just like that, random parts of the whole body changed back and forth. It turned out to be going back? Bruce Banner's consciousness awakened? Is this a war between heaven and man? Sure enough, under Bucky's surprised gaze, half of Hulk's face finally turned into that of a young man with a grim expression, and then his whole head turned into a green Lee Guden, and then turned back to a normal human being. Then Bucky dared to touch it quietly, and saw the Hulk transformed back, a handsome and scholarly man under the age of 30, with a face of grief, anger and sorrow, deep hatred, and deep self-blame left 2 lines of tears. Betty. He called Betty softly, then closed his eyes, his body went limp, and he fell to the ground without moving. That's why Bucky sighed that the power of love is so great. It is not difficult to guess that it was Hulk who met Betty Ross, Dr. Banner's lover, which aroused Bruce Banner's consciousness suppressed by Hulk, causing him the strongest emotion and the most intense struggle. In the end, he broke through the suppression of Hulk's angry consciousness, woke up, and turned back into himself. But this is because the struggle was too intense, too much energy was consumed, and too much stimulation was received, and he passed out immediately after waking up. Bucky cautiously came to Dr. Banner's side, squatting down to check his breath in a posture like setting off firecrackers. His breathing was very steady. This made him also heave a long sigh of relief. I really didn't expect it to end up like this. But it's right to think about it, except Dr. Banner, who can suppress Hulk. Thor, who doesn't have the ultimate costume, can't do it. Thanos has to be able to beat Hulk to autism. Apart from the famous purple sweet potato essence, the only thing that can defeat the Hulk is love, right? Bucky didn't feel wronged when he lost the dog food to Dr. Banner and Betty. It's just that Hulk has been temporarily solved, but the real problem is not over yet. But Bucky knows that Dr. Banner has not maintained the Hulk form since the Hulk appeared. Instead, he changed back to Dr. Banner several times, and was ordered to be hunted down by the persevering General Ross. Several times he had no choice but to change back to Hulk to fight back. If he just left without doing anything, it would be nothing more than a repeat of what happened before. And this time Dr. Banner has met Betty Ross, which will definitely affect Hulk. Maybe next time it will be a crazier monster with no scruples. Seeing the sad look on Dr. Banner's face, Bucky didn't want this good old man in his impression to be tossed like this. So Bucky took advantage of the fact that he had just calmed down and no one had arrived, so he reached out and grabbed Dr. Banner's arm. Then with the other hand, he took out a bottle of System Prop drink, opened it and drank it, and then gently stroked the artery in Dr. Banner's wrist with a field knife. With precise strength, only a little bit of skin and protruding blood vessels were cut, and the bright red blood continued to flow into the bottle. It's true that Bucky wants to save Dr. Banner, but this guy has been tossing him for so long, so he's in danger of killing him. If there's no credit, there's hard work. If there's no hard work, there's fatigue. Why should he be charged for labor, right? And the benefit that Dr. Banner can give him now is his magical blood. Whether in movies or anime, Dr. Banner's blood is very magical. The body transformed by gamma rays and super soldier serum has extremely strong erosive and infectious properties. A small amount of blood can poison people, but if it is a large amount of contact or direct injection, it will turn people into Hulk-like monsters. Dr. Samuel Stern, who helped Dr. Banner in the movie, turned into a big blue head, Big Boss, because he broke his head and was contaminated with Dr. Banner's blood. In the anime, Hulk's blood transforms General Ross, also known as the Red Giant, and Banner's lover Betty Ross, also known as the Red Giant. Of course, Bucky didn't want to do this too, otherwise he didn't need to collect it. Just drank this cup of Hulk's blood, and everyone would be done green together. He's not interested in being a mad giant, nor is he interested in being green. He just wanted to break down Dr. Banner's blood. This kind of magical blood that can create Hulk-like monsters, if it is decomposed by the system, it must be an item component of the Orange Legend, right? But Bucky wasn't greedy, he just filled up a bottle or something. Firstly, he didn't have time, someone would come to find him soon, and secondly, he was afraid of waking up Dr. Banner and stimulating him again. He only drank about 330 milliliters, a third of a milliliter beverage can stopped, put the bottle away, wiped Dr. Banner's wrist, pressed the small opening on the blood vessel, and carried him on his back. Bucky carried Dr. Banner on his shoulders, and left quietly, and also informed Howard on the helicopter that was still circling in the sky. Hey, I've got Dr. Banner under control. Go to the other side of the town and bypass the army to pick me up. Sure enough, the remnants of the troops that blocked Hulk just now on the other side began to enter the town, and helicopters were also searching over the town. But Bucky hid all the way, sneaked fast, and left the town without anyone noticing. He rushed to the road not far from the town, and Howard had already landed by helicopter. Hey, General Ross, I don't know what you're talking about. My people didn't find the Hulk. Did he escape from another direction? Hey, the signal is not very good. Let's talk about it later. Hey. When Bucky brought Dr. Banner to the helicopter, Howard was playing sloppy with General Ross. Although Stark Industries also refers to the order of the Ministry of Defense to eat, but General Ross is not a person who cooperates with Stark Industries. The Lieutenant General who is accountable to the Ministry, Howard doesn't care about him at all. If General Ross dared to make trouble, the relationship Howard had developed for so many years, with a few words of crooked mouth, could make him unable to eat. Therefore, the troops under General Ross could only watch Howard's helicopter fly away. By the way, I didn't have time to take back your aircraft, did you send someone to deal with it? Bucky was in a hurry to take Dr. Banner away, but he failed to take back the Falcon's flying wings, and the toy he gave to others was broken. Although he didn't feel guilty, it was Howard's fault no matter what he thought, but he had to say it anyway. No, people from S.H.I.E.L.D. are going to help with the evacuation and go to Betty Ross. It's too late, but it doesn't matter. It's just an imperfect experiment, and only you can use it, and it's not a mass destruction weapons, just throw them away. Howard Stark didn't care about Bucky breaking his big toy. Instead, he cared a little bit about his immature invention, which put Bucky in danger, so he just waved his hand lightly. And seeing you use that aircraft, I also had a lot of ideas. Let's chat then, and you tell me about your experience of using it. I think this individual aircraft project can be carried out. Of course, when the time comes, we will study it carefully. Bucky is naturally happy to see the results. He has experienced the joy of flying, so how can he taste it and end it just this time? But think about it, if the military recovered the wreckage of the Falcon aircraft later, and continued to research and develop the Falcon project because of Bucky's performance today, the Big Eagle would still appear in the future, and it was because of Bucky, Yang Guo, there is a wonderful feeling of fate. How are we going to house Dr. Banner? It is said that S.H.I.E.L.D. was involved, and Dr. Banner should be handed over to S.H.I.E.L.D. After that, but that would be tantamount to handing Hulk to Hydra. Dr. Banner can be arrested and brainwashed by twisting his face. Said, definitely can't do that. Put him in one of my houses first. When he wakes up, I'll talk to him and ask what's going on with this experiment. Howard is a scientist, and he has been in love with Dr. Banner, the world's top 3 physicist, for a long time. He really wants to chat with Banner first. As for Hulk's question, what happened? Radar shows 2 unidentified flying objects flying towards us. Wonima. After Howard finished speaking, Bucky couldn't help opening the hatch and peeking out, and when he looked back, he exploded. Behind the two helicopters, two armed helicopters flew from nowhere, and they fired a total of 4 missiles at the same time. Of course, Bucky couldn't let the missile hit his face. While cursing inwardly, he instantly summoned the G-58 smart submachine gun, locked on 4 missiles and pulled the trigger. Although both sides are moving at high speed, it is difficult to lock the target even by tracking bullets, but the tracking system of the smart weapon is connected to Bucky's network access warehouse, and the calibration and correction are constantly carried out. Detonate all 4 missiles. Boom. Looking at the huge flames erupting in the air, Bucky breathed a sigh of relief, wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, and followed the evil fire in his heart to his forehead. This is the guts of a leopard who has eaten the heart of a bear, and dares to break ground on Tai Sui's head. I also give you a great taste. Bucky immediately locked on to an armed helicopter and fired an electromagnetic short circuit directly. It's sizzling. There was a flash of electric arc on the helicopter, it stopped working instantly, and fell headlong into the ground. On the other helicopter, Bucky then summoned the high-explosive anti-material sniper rifle, 05, holding the gun with one hand in his left arm, aiming and shooting instantly. The terrifying reaction force that can cause internal bleeding to an untrained person, but under the control of the steel unicorn arm, it can't make Bucky tremble a little. Boom. Terrifying rate of fire and power, even though the shot was too far, and the nose of the aimed plane hit the tail, but the helicopter is not a machine with super high defense power. The entire tail of the plane was blown up in an instant, and it fell headlong in a circle go down. You eat shit and go awful. Seeing the two Wuji planes fall to the ground, both bursting into the sky with flames and thick smoke, Bucky, still feeling puzzled, raised his middle finger and cursed the street. He was really a little startled. How could there be someone who doesn't talk about martial arts, and shoots missiles directly without even saying hello? Pooh. Nausea. This act is disgusting. If Howard didn't have a big E and found out in time, Bucky would have to try to see if he could catch a missile with his face. Just 2 words, disgusting. Peeved. It's a pity we don't know who did it. Bucky still spat out angrily. But in fact, it is not difficult to guess if you have a free heart. Howard was still in shock, and Bucky still had a chance of surviving, but he really stepped into the gate of hell with 1 foot, and Bucky pulled him back from the edge of the cliff. If he is angry, he must be even more angry. He is a billionaire and shameless. Wanted to be put to death again and again by cats and dogs from nowhere? And what annoyed him the most was that he looked at the missile system on the Wuji. No matter how familiar it looked, what he wanted was actually a product of Stark Industries. But Howard calmed down quickly. He knew it was inevitable. As long as he survived for a day, he suspected that he knew the secret, and he really suspected the right Hydra. But he is not without temper. It's just that it's useless to lose your temper. It will only make the enemy proud, and he will take revenge with practical actions. But he still had to suppress his anger first, and settle the matter in front of him first. It was precisely because the venomous snake lurking in the dark was about to move again. No, it was already a reckless attack, so he had to deal with Dr. Banner's matter more quickly. Dr. Banner is a time bomb, literally, a genuine humanoid self-propelled gamma-energy nuclear reactor, and it will explode immediately if one is not paying attention. Fortunately, the rats in the gutter only poked their heads out, stretched out their paws, and then retracted. After that, no attacker appeared again. But Bucky and Howard still tensed their nerves all the way to Howard's villa in New Mexico. The life of a billionaire is so low-key, secretive and unpretentious. He has at least 1 real estate in every big and small city in all 50 states of the United States. Just wait for Dr. Banner to wake up now. Putting Dr. Banner in a room, Howard was frightened just now, and took a lot of medicine like eating. Take a break too, I'll keep an eye on him. Ah. Howard didn't try to be brave, and he always didn't use his muscles and bones to do his best. He knew his physical condition. After being bumped for so long, he really needed to slow down. While Howard was resting, Bucky also took out Dr. Banner's blood collected just now. After dismantling the light bulb of the desk lamp, electrifying it with the left hand and dismantling it with the right hand, and of course not forgetting to scan it with the system, Bucky is curious, will there be a Hulk-enhanced serum, or something? But unfortunately, according to the results of the system scan, this is a rare and strange object, which can only be disassembled, not manufactured. Then dismantle it. But this demolition took nearly 10 minutes. Bucky needs energy to disassemble things, and the more advanced things, the more energy they need, and there is also the factor of mystery, so even though it is just a little blood, the energy required is massive. In fact, Dr. Banner's blood itself contains unknown mutant gamma energy, and it is a magical and huge energy that can turn him into a Hulk. The system reminded Bucky that the blood supply can actually be used to dismantle the blood, 1 piece at a time. But Bucky is willing to use AC power for power. And what was finally disassembled made Bucky's eyes widen. System information. The dismantling of 102.5 milliliters of the strange object, Bruce Banner's blood, has been completed, and a total of purple epic item components 1.5, orange legendary item components 1.0, and Hulk's rampage factor 1 have been obtained. The epic and legendary components are enough for Bucky to call him a good guy, and he has the urge to rush over to bled Dr. Banner and turn him into a mummy. There is also a special component that is also at the orange legend level, the berserk factor. Bucky hurriedly communicated with the system. Hulk rage factor. Special legendary components required by some special recipes. Please find a way to obtain the recipes by yourself. Where can I find it? Bucky was a little discouraged when he saw it. He only gave special materials, but didn't give the formula, so why would he want it? System prompt. Special components can also be split into regular components. That is, can it continue to be disassembled into ordinary orange legend components? But if this is the case, Bucky is a little bit reluctant. If he can get the whole experiment process of Dr. Banner's transformation into Hulk, maybe there will be a formula. But he didn't want to become a Hulk either. He became a Hulk with so many prosthetic bodies. Did he change with it, or was it incompatible and just collapsed? And if you want to change, just drink blood and it's over, why bother? But Bucky hesitated for a moment, feeling that he finally got such a new gadget, and he was really reluctant to take it apart. Anyway, he can't make legendary equipment now. To be exact, he has only 4 technical attributes, and he doesn't even have a blue rare formula, so he is not in a hurry and keeps it for now. How about going to bleed Dr. Banner again? Forget it, he has been in a coma for such a long time. What if he suddenly wakes up and sees someone bloodletting him, and he turns green in fright? But wealth and wealth are in danger. What if you can't wake up? In Bucky's mind, heaven and man are at war, and his feet move subconsciously. Fortunately, he just pushed open the door of Dr. Banner's room, so he didn't have to hesitate any longer. Because Dr. Banner just woke up slowly. Others Bucky can also stun him with an electromagnetic short circuit, but Dr. Banner can only give Hulk an electric shock. Dr. Banner, you're awake. Who are you? Where am I? What do you want to do? When Bruce Banner saw a strange but inexplicably familiar person appear, his expression changed from dazed to cautious in an instant, and he also had a little inferiority complex and dodge. Relax, Dr. Banner, breathe slowly, I have no hostility. If it was anyone else, Bucky could still make a joke, something like, you woke up, you had a good time, or something. But in the face of Dr. Banner, who has just become the Hulk, instead of the good old man whose nephew Tony beat him, and he didn't get angry, Bucky didn't dare to provoke Banner who couldn't control his emotions at all. He raised his hands, took half a step back, and tried to speak in a soothing tone, trying to show that he was harmless to humans and animals. Bucky's performance made Dr. Banner heave a sigh of relief and let go of his guard, but the look of inferiority in his eyes became heavier. He knew what the other party was careful about. He was just not used to it, and he didn't want to think about it. He even hoped that the other party would have the courage to show hostility to him, to show his anger towards the monster that caused so much damage. Rather than be careful with him like this, for fear that he will be unhappy and release the monster. But Bucky didn't know that Dr. Banner had so many mental activities. He just breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this, and continued. My name is Johnny, and I was in the small town. As soon as Bucky started talking, Dr. Banner seemed to have a lot of memories as soon as he heard about the town, and he put his head in his hands in frustration. Relax, Dr. Banner, try to relax and take your time. Bucky was really careful with him, knowing that this was Bruce Banner's process of accepting reality, and it was also the most difficult hurdle in his heart. At this time, a little stimulation might cause him to be overly excited, and he would immediately turn green. Sorry, I'm fine. Dr. Banner took a few deep breaths, gave Bucky an apologetic look, then immediately dodged his gaze, bowed his head and remained silent. We brought you out because we didn't want the military to take you away. I don't think you want to do that either. Do you have any impression of what happened at that time? Betty. Betty, is she okay? Betty is fine, you didn't do anything to her, or in other words, because of your feelings for Betty, you controlled Hulk, and you saved her. Oh. Hearing this, Dr. Banner couldn't help laughing miserably. Obviously I was the one who caused her to be like that, it was me, and it was all my fault. Relax, Dr. Banner, take a deep breath. When Bucky saw Dr. Banner's annoyed hands plucking his hair fiercely, his whole body was tense and trembling. But he could only continue to slow down his tone, almost comforting him with an ASMR tone. Dr. Banner was annoyed at first, but when he heard Bucky coaxing him like a child, he suddenly looked up at Bucky, with 2 lines of tears streaming down his face. I made a asterisk, and said to cry again? Bucky thought to himself, does he have any talent in this area? But why are you angry at me? What did I do wrong? See how wrong you are. When Bucky saw Dr. Banner's small eyes, he had never been so careful with him before, so he couldn't help but hit his forehead with a little fire, frowned, and stared back fiercely. I'm used to you. At worst, do another fight. It's not impossible to escape anyway. Unexpectedly, Dr. Banner gave Dr. Banner a stare, and the sad and angry little eyes instantly became aggrieved. Bucky felt a little bit like the good old man he remembered. Since you're not in the army, who are you, Johnny? And Bucky's cold and domineering glare, well, Bucky didn't think much of it himself, but after incorporating the past experience of the Winter Soldier, he himself has experienced a lot of battles, and when he lowered his face and stared at people, he was very imposing of. And this also reminded Dr. Banner of some memories of Hulk. Banner and Hulk, one is two are one, but the two consciousnesses are mutually exclusive, and the subconscious is unwilling to contact the memory of the other at all. That's why Banner recognized that it was the little flying bug that the monster inside him hated. He also knew that the other party had some magical abilities, such as giving Hulk a disgusting trick, and he thought it was very reasonable that the other party could snatch food from the military. But what is the purpose of the other party? This explanation is a bit long. Let's talk about another person. You know Howard Stark? Who doesn't know Mr. Stark? Oh, you mean Dr. Banner. I have known your name for a long time, and I have wanted to know you for a long time, but I have not been able to find the opportunity. Mr. Stark, you are too kind. There is nothing polite about science. I have read several of your papers on radioactive energy, radioactive matter, and especially gamma rays. They are really insightful, unique and subtle. Mr. Stark, although you have not published papers in recent years, the articles you have published on energy in scientific journals are also very forward-looking and thought-provoking. Why don't you two find a quiet room? Instead of explaining the ins and outs to Bruce Banner alone, you took him to wake up Howard's Bucky first, and watched the two enter into a business bragging mode as soon as they met. I couldn't help but rolled his eyes. A high IQ is amazing. Well, a high IQ is something amazing, and a god of learning means being able to crush the scumbags. No, he also has a system-added intelligence attribute, and his IQ is not low. He just started reading books on physics, mechanics, and electronic engineering in college. In front of these two world-class super geniuses, he is still a scumbag. Bucky has the urge to study hard again, so he can't be despised by the god of learning like a monkey like his good friend, the esteem. Cough. Seeing that the two were about to enter the academic discussion mode, Bucky coughed and brought the two back to their senses. Oh, I'm sorry. Look at me, Dr. Banner. Let's get down to business. Your experiment of gamma rays transforming super soldier serum. Can you introduce the idea of the experiment? You know that I am the founder of this experiment. Cough. Seeing that Howard was still itchy and continued to lean upstairs, Bucky coughed harder. Let the two come back to God again. Dr. Banner, who subconsciously wanted to escape from reality, looked curiously at Johnny, who was staring at Mr. Stark, and thought to himself what kind of identity this person was. And the other party is not angry? I heard that Mr. Stark was very romantic when he was young. I'm only 2 years younger than Howard, okay. Bucky, who understood the general meaning of Dr. Banner's small eyes, couldn't help but glared at him again. Okay. Let's get down to business, but what I'm asking is actually not off topic. Dr. Banner, the activation factor for your transformation is just that your life is in danger, or is there any other triggering condition? You seem to be unable to control the transformation independently. Back to yourself, but can you take the initiative to become Hulk? No, I can't control it at all, and it's not just that my life is threatened. When I am extremely angry, or even just emotionally intense, I will activate that monster uncontrollably. Banner, who had just recovered a little bit of emotion, said with a depressed face again. Maybe handing me over to the military and letting the military imprison me is a safe option for other people. This person is really easy to get discouraged. He is the kind of pessimistic person, and he has a good temper, which should be amplified by the super soldier serum, but because of the influence of gamma rays, it triggers another extreme, an extremely angry beast. Not to mention that the military is at least half responsible for this matter. Dr. Banner, you don't think that the military will only imprison you and not do other things? I don't even say whether they can do it. Just say when they do that. How do you think you'll react? I will become the Hulk. Hearing what Bucky said, Dr. Banner was almost ashamed. I really don't know what to do. Even if I want to die, I will still die when my life is in danger. When the time comes, force that monster out. Calm down, Dr. Banner. Anxiety will not help you come up with a solution to the problem. It will only hinder your genius brain from thinking that day. We two super geniuses here can always come up with a solution. That's why I said to study Dr. Banner's experimental process. Bucky persuaded him with good words, but Howard still wanted to study it. As a scientist, when he encountered such a miraculous thing, he really couldn't help bursting out sparks of inspiration one after another in his mind, but he couldn't let those. The spark really ignited the fire of wisdom, and he was really uncomfortable. But seeing Bucky's expression of, "If you keep doing this, I'll let you study the Hulk directly now," Howard still tried his best to restrain himself. "Actually, we don't have much choice. We can't restrict Dr. Banner's freedom, but we can't let him appear in the public eye again. For now, we can only keep his name anonymous. That's the only way to go, and not only do you have to change your identity, but you can't even stay in the country. After all, Dr. Banner is already on the military's wanted list. This can't be settled with General Ross." Dr. Banner was silent, more depressed. He knew it was the only way to solve the problem at hand. But just before, he was fine, had a career he loved, and a lover who could keep up with his thinking, not only as a lover, but also as a helper. Everything was so beautiful. But everything was destroyed by the monster in his body. Although he is still alive, he is going to die soon, and all the good things in the past will become memories. He knows that Betty is still waiting for him, but he has to take the initiative to stay away until Betty is heartbroken, until Betty gradually puts him away. Forget. Dr. Banner, don't be discouraged. There is no limit to the sky. This is just a temporary expedient. After avoiding the limelight for a while, you can start to solve your problem fundamentally. Yes, I'm going to get rid of that monster. I'm going to heal myself. I will. It is good to have confidence, but in fact, you will not be willing to let go of the confrontation, get to know each other again, and then be inseparable until a purple sweet potato essence that makes the whole universe tremble, gives Hulk a violent beating and shuts himself up. Each other. Knowing whether it is anime or movies, the only way out for Dr. Banner is to become Bucky, a sensible Hulk, but he will not pour cold water on him who has just regained his confidence. Still encourage him with Howard, so that he has the motivation to act. "Mr. Stark, Johnny, thank you for your help. I will leave everything to you later, and I also hope that you, Mr. Stark, can help me study my physical problems. I need your wisdom and resources." "Of course, it's my honor, so, now we." Cough. Bucky coughed lightly, making Howard curl his lips. "Let's arrange your way out first, and everything will wait for you to settle down. It's up to Johnny." Howard didn't forget that Hydra was staring at them, so Dr. Banner couldn't rely on the power of S.H.I.E.L.D. to get out of the sight of the military. "Stark. Where did you hide Banner?" "General Ross, I don't know what you're talking about. I still have to ask you. The matter of Dr. Banner is no longer your problem alone. The S.H.I.E.L.D. has sufficient reasons to intervene." Howard Stark's house. In other words, it used to be his villa, but now it is a ruined building. Behind Howard are a few S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who are arguing with General Ross, who is leading the soldiers. "Our people witnessed you taking Banner away. Stark, don't try to slander. What's going on here? Don't tell me it's your invention. Didn't you rush to answer yourself? Why are you asking me? You guessed right. And even if it's not, it's like this. How can I know where Hulk went? I wasn't there at the time, and it was like this when I came back. That subordinate of yours took Hulk away. Stark, you're actually studying the Super Soldier Project again. Don't talk empty teeth and dirty people's innocence. You are accusing me. I still have to ask you, what about the flying wing I invented? It is my private property, and your military has no right to take it away." The two were fighting each other. General Ross, an old-school soldier, was naturally not an opponent of Howard's poisonous tongue. What's more, he had fought with Bucky many times, an evolved version of his poisonous tongue. After some quarrels, General Ross was so angry that his blood pressure soared. It's almost bursting blood vessels. Rose and Stark dislike each other, obviously not a generational thing. "Stark, you wait for me, this matter is endless." "General Ross, it's better to leave. I hope you can settle your own troubles as soon as possible." Facing General Ross's harsh words, Howard only thought he was talking about rabbits and wait and see. "I just hope Bucky's side goes well." His task was considered complete. He contributed a villa, and asked Bucky to imitate Hulk and dismantle it to pieces, so as to divert his attention. Then Bucky took Dr. Banner away secretly. Late that night. El Paso, MI-Mex border. Bucky and Dr. Banner, wearing plaid wool shirts and jeans, hiking boots, and a hiking bag each, haunted the river. Bucky didn't use Howard's contacts, nor did he go find the snakehead himself, because he happened to know such a route across the border because of the memory fragments of the Winter Soldier. Trek across mountains and rivers, all the way to the Mexican city of Juarez across the river from El Paso. This is a city of crime, ruled by drug lords and people smuggling gangs, where women go missing and people die in murder or arson almost every day. So this is not the end of the two. but they just got a car here, and then went to the port city in the south, where they found a ship to South America. Dr. Banner, I'll send you here. After that, it's all up to you. When you arrive in Brazil, contact us. Thank you for your help, Johnny, thank you. Bucky's help all the time made Dr. Banner feel the warmth of the world again, but he really has nothing to repay, he can only feel deeply. That's it, you take care of yourself and stay in touch. Before leaving, Dr. Banner hesitated for a long time, opened his mouth again and again, and finally said with some embarrassment. Johnny, can you go and see Betty for me? I know it's too much trouble for you, but I'm really worried about her. Brother Dave, what are you doing? When Bucky heard this, he couldn't help but think of the joke that a certain little black fat man surnamed Guo said, asking his wife to present his son. Shaking his head quickly, he dismissed the random thoughts, it's all because Hulk is too green. And Bucky also finds it a little troublesome. It's impossible to beat the 8 poles, and it's just an extra responsibility. The key is that it didn't trigger any tasks. Forget it. Let's treat it as a favor to Dr. Banner, and he took a pipe anyway. Blood. When the time comes, contact Betty, leave a phone number, and say that you can ask him for help if you have any difficulties. As for whether you can find it or not, it is Betty's business. I will try my best. Bucky can only give such a guarantee, after all, he has his own life, and he can't hang around his sister-in-law from now on, although he likes to eat dumplings. But that's enough for Dr. Banner, he won't ask for too much. By the way, when I was resting on the road, I collected some more blood, as well as some of my ideas and questions. You can help me to Mr. Stark, and I hope he can give me some advice. Looking at the 2 test tubes filled with dark red blood with soft stoppers handed over by Dr. Banner, Bucky couldn't help swallowing. As the saying goes, every meeting is divided into half. Howard has a tube of blood that is enough for him to study for a while, right? Bucky really wanted to say to Dr. Banner, if you have ideas in blood in the future, just give them to me, and I'll pass them on to Howard for you. But I still held back this unreasonable proposal, just nodded, took it seriously and said, don't worry, I will, take care, be careful, and keep in touch. Looking at Yi saying goodbye to Banner, yes, Yi saying goodbye, but not to Bucky, but to his past life. Bucky sighed, and couldn't help but turn up the corners of his mouth. Finally sent him away, from now on, my sister-in-law will. Cough. It can be regarded as sending away this humanoid self-propelled timing gamma nuclear bomb. It is easy to ask God to send God away, it is really not easy. Looking back on the whole process of this experience, there are tension and thrills, but also aggrieved resentment and dissatisfaction. Generally speaking, this is a wonderful memory worth remembering. Bucky has never wanted to be stronger than he is now. He felt that since time travel, his vision has been limited by the Hydra. He should not be limited to the fact that the Hydra is his mortal enemy. As strong as the mortal enemy is, he needs to be as strong as he is. Obviously, even if he has the ability to eliminate Hydra, it is not enough for him to face future crises. The appearance of Hulk gave Bucky a vigilance. He should not be satisfied with the status quo, but should become stronger faster. As for how to become stronger, he now has a method. That's the catch this time. Not just Dr. Banner's blood. Don't forget, Bucky also completed the task of collateral damage before. Although it is not the main reason, it is mainly because of the power of love between Banner and Betty, but as things stand, Bucky's task did not hurt Betty's hospital. Anyone can be considered perfect. And in the process of Bucky's pursuit, Hulk's consciousness was suppressed, and he turned back into Banner and passed out. The two were hostile before and were still in a state of fighting. The system admitted that Bucky defeated Hulk once. So the previous reward was very generous. System information. The emergency task, combined damage, has been completed. Task evaluation. Excellent. Reward 2,500 experience points. Random item box. Purple epic. *1. Purple epic chest. Although it is still not a perfect completion, after all, he did not personally defeat Hulk head-on, but just participated in the whole process so he got there. But being able to get the epic box, Bucky is already satisfied enough. And the things that came out of the box made Bucky so satisfied that he couldn't be more satisfied.